Ada for calling my wife a slob and demanding she clean before I come home. I, 30M, just came back from a nearly 6-month deployment. I've been married to my wife, 29F, for 2 years. This is the longest deployment I've had since we've lived together. No kids, but we do have a few pets. I bought the house we live in before we got married, and before I left, it was clean and in great condition. When I walked through the door, it was like stepping into one of those hoarder show houses. I wish I was kidding. This is not an exaggeration. In fact, it's probably not descriptive enough. The master bathroom had black mold on the walls. The sink and shower were caked with soap scum, hair everywhere, trash covering the floor. We're talking used tissues, used pads, makeup packaging, all just strewn round. The toilet, I won't even describe the toilet. The bedroom had waist-high piles of clothes, papers, and God knows what lining 2 walls. The carpet was completely covered in pet hair. I saw little moths flying around that looked like the kind that eat fabric and hair. The living room wasn't dirty as much as it was piled with clutter, unopened shopping bags, decorations from last Halloween and Christmas still out, tons of random stuff she clearly bought but never put away. And the kitchen, the smell hit me before I even walked in. Both sinks were full of dirty dishes with some kind of black sludge coating the bottom. The fridge was packed, but mostly with expired and rotting food. There were 2 casserole dishes filled with what I can only describe as pure mold. Based on what I found, the food in those dishes had been sitting there since before I left in January. I completely lost it. I yelled a lot. I called her names, because honestly, what kind of person lets things get this bad? It felt like coming home to a house abandoned by squatters. I told her she had 1 week to clean the entire house and return it to the condition it was in before I deployed or I'd be filing for divorce. Then I left. I'm staying with a friend. This guy is not easy to live with. He's loud, way too talkative and messy in his own way, but even his place is paradise compared to what I walked into. My wife cried and begged me to stay. She said I was being unfair and that I just left her here to deal with everything. But I don't understand. What everything? We have no kids. She works a normal job and comes home. That's it. No night shifts, number 80-hour weeks, no caretaking responsibilities. What else was there for her to deal with? What could possibly be taking up so much of her time and energy that basic tasks like throwing away used tissues, washing dishes, or taking out the trash couldn't be done? She told me I needed to help her because it was our mess, but I've been gone for over 5 months. She claims that I didn't understand how hard it was for her while I was gone. I didn't make any of that mess. I've been deployed and working my ass off, and the house I paid for was trashed while I was away. Is there something I really don't understand here? Comments. Commenter 1. Your NTA, though it does sound like your wife is in need of professional help. Hoarding and what you are describing could be severe depression or other mental health manifestations. Whilst you have no kids, loneliness and the reality of that may also be contributing. This doesn't sound like a simple clean the house issue. She needs therapy, and maybe you both need to talk and listen, without initial judgment, about how it got to that state. You're married after all. This really seems the worse in better or for worse. She's unwilling to talk or get help, then you divorce, but maybe there's a few steps before that. Commenter 2. Yeah, looks like depression. Update. UST thought I'd post an update because I continue to get responses saying she's depressed on my original post. I heard you. 1,000 plus people saying it. You don't need to say it anymore. I went over to our house this morning and started cleaning while my wife was at work. It really doesn't look like she'd done much, even though she told me she'd been cleaning. I'd really like to know what she cleaned because I didn't see any difference between when I first got home to this morning. I cleaned the bathroom, threw most of the garbage all over the place away, but tried to be nice and keep what actually looked like untainted makeup and bath products. I sprayed the entire room with bleach, the walls, the shower, the toilet, the floor. The bleach pretty much ate all of the mold away on its own, but I scrubbed it all too. It took me maybe 15 minutes to rinse everything in the sink and load the dishwasher. That's what kills me. It took 15 minutes even with as bad as it was. Why couldn't she have done that? It took longer to scrub the sink itself, and now scratched up from all of the utensils and metal baking sheets and things, plus there are permanent stains. I almost vomited from the smell. I saved absolutely nothing from the fridge. I filled 2 large trash bags up with the contents, containers and all. I don't think anything was safe in there, and it wasn't worth taking the chance. There's still a lot more to do, but I took care of the most disgusting parts. She came home and didn't expect me to be there. She came home with a shopping bag. She had gone shopping despite the hoard of stuff inside the house. I told her I cleaned up the bathroom and the kitchen, and that we're going to work together all weekend to clean the rest of it. She hugged me and seemed all thankful, and I told her it's not that simple. I'm still pissed off and I still don't understand how this happened. She said she didn't understand how it happened either, she just got overwhelmed. She was mad that I threw some of the stuff in the fridge away. She wanted to save the casserole dishes. One was her grandma's. Well, I never want to eat out of that dish again. She went and saved it from the trash. I told her I threw more stuff away and tried to save what seemed salvageable in the bathroom. I also let her know that if she doesn't help me clean this weekend, then I'm going to be throwing all of the stuff she's accumulated in the living room away too. She said she's going to help. I'll obviously have to tell her exactly what tasks to do, and I shouldn't have to do that. I've accepted that I'll have to do it to get the place cleaned this weekend. Long term, that's not what I signed up for when I married her. Am I going to have to get a chore chart like she's a little kid? I told her maybe we need to get a cleaning service to come in. I don't feel we should need people to come in and clean our house for us, and I would prefer to spend my money on other things, but I still offer to do it for her sake. She was adamantly against it and doesn't want any cleaners coming into her space. She says it feels too weird to have somebody come in and clean. I asked her what was wrong, maybe she needs therapy or to get professional help. She said she knows she should probably go get help, but she's not ready to do that, and she can stay on top of things if we just get it back to clean state. She said she's fine and she just got overwhelmed with work and felt so tired, and it was easy to let things go when she was the only one here. She says now that I'm back it won't happen. I'll believe it when I see it. Comments. Commenter 1. Your wife is a hoarder. This is a mental illness. She needs professional help. 70 Pyrex baking dishes is not a collection, it's an addiction and obsession. She needs professional help whether you stay with her or not. Commenter 2. Yup, this is bigger than depression, something has flipped the switch, she's in hoarder territory. Commenter 3. Her coming home with bags of things when the house was this nasty really does make it sound like she needs therapy, because this really does sound like hoarding. Reply. She argued that it was just a few little things. And they were little things, but still. She doesn't need to be bringing anything else into the house until what she has is organized. Stories number 2. To fool my wife's birthday present. So, let me preface this by saying that my wife is not a gamer. But I managed to get her into Animal Crossing and she's put 130 hours in over the last year. I've never played it myself, but she has a great time, so we're all happy. Cut to today where I am in possession of a shiny new Switch 2. I thought it would be nice to give her my old Switch and buy her a copy of Animal Crossing for her birthday. So I transferred all my data off and initialized the old Switch and waited. Well, when she booted up her very own copy on her very own Switch and was prompted to start a new island. Weird. I poked around for a bit as the horrifying realization dawned on me: her island didn't transfer. Turns out you need to do a manual backup, and I didn't know that. So now her island is gone and she is devastated that I nuked 130 hours of her life. Happy birthday. TLDR, I didn't realize Animal Crossing needed a manual backup and deleted my wife's island for her birthday. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. This story makes no sense. The data and the island were on the old Switch, which was the device you gave her. There's nothing to transfer, it was already there. And why would you need to buy her a copy of Animal Crossing if she had already played it for 130 hours? There's no reason to own 2 copies of the game if she's the only person who is playing it. Reply. I know reading is hard, but as I said, I initialized the system. She played my copy which is on my system, and rather than forcing her to continually borrow it from me, I bought her a new one on her own account for her birthday. You know, because it's a present and I wanted to make it nice for her. Not just throw her my leftovers and call it good. Commenter 2. As others have pointed out, if you did a Switch to Switch 2 transfer which ported the entire system, then the ACNH island data is living on Switch 2, and all that needs to happen is a copy of ACNH needs to be opened on the Switch 2 and then the resident data relinked. I haven't heard of anyone going backwards to Switch 1 yet, but I'm assuming you can download the island transfer tool to move the island back to the Switch from the Switch 2. Alternatively, if you have NSO and enabled island backup, then a somewhat recent version of the island should be saved to the Nintendo server and you can contact customer support for help re-downloading it to the Switch. Reply. This is in fact what ended up happening. I opened ACNH on the Switch 2 and it said it found an island without an owner. I enabled the backup and I'm waiting for that to finish so she can load it on her Switch. Meanwhile, she's been thoroughly enjoying the other presents I got for her while she waits. Editor's note: Tom Nook is a fictional character from Animal Crossing. Update. So yesterday I posted how I had fucked up by deleting my wife's Animal Crossing island in a failed transfer. She was very sad, but I promised her I'd start my own island and play with her so she wouldn't have to rebuild herself. When I went to start my own island, Tom Nook told me he had some old save data he didn't know what to do with. Turns out it was my wife's island. I went in on her account, enabled backup and let it do its thing. The backup saved overnight and she was able to log into her island this morning with everything still intact. Not much more to share really. Thanks to everyone who was wishing me well and gave advice on how to recover it. TLDR, I was able to recover my wife's deleted island and her and my BF are visiting each other's island right now. Final comments. Commenter 1, good, now go buy her an actual birthday present. Reply, she really enjoyed the necklace and giant plushie I got her. I didn't fuck up that part so I didn't mention it. Stories number 3. Aita for being jealous of my younger sister getting a car. My 16-year-old sister just got a brand new, top-of-the-line car today. She's thrilled, of course, and already showing it off, but honestly, I feel a little resentful. I'm very grateful that my parents were able to help me with my first car, but I had to earn it. When my grandma passed away, she left me her early 2000s Lexus. It was outdated but still a nice car. We traded it in and used that value toward my new car. Even then, my parents made it clear I had to meet certain expectations. I needed a 4.3 GPA to become class vice president and to earn multiple healthcare certifications before they believed I had earned it. After all that, they still went with a basic Kia model, which I was totally fine with. Here's where my frustration comes in. My sister just got her car as a sophomore. She has struggled to maintain a 3.0 GPA, nearly failed some classes 2 years in a row, has gotten detentions for things like skipping class and vaping, and her room is genuinely disgusting. Clothes and trash cover every inch of the floor. My parents gave her only one condition to get a car: keep her room clean for 7 days straight. That never happened. Her grades stayed the same, the mess never improved, and yet she constantly pressured them about getting a car. Today, they gave in. They went to the dealership and came home with a brand new, fully loaded car. No trade-in. Full price. Of course I'm jealous. But more than that, I'm disappointed. She didn't do anything to earn it. I'm worried this just reinforces the idea that she can act however she wants and still get what she wants if she pushes hard enough. Maybe I sound bitter, I just feel defeated. I worked hard and followed every rule. She didn't and still got rewarded. Let me know if I'm overreacting. Just needed to get this off my chest. Aita for being resentful of my younger sister. How do you have a 4.3 GPA? In the US it's possible to get above a 4-point GPA. I took college classes during my senior year, which are graded on a 5.0 scale. Since I had straight A's all around, my weighted GPA ended up being a 4.3. How old are you? I just turned 20 in April. For everyone saying I should move out, that's the goal. Unfortunately, the car, all my savings from work, and the money left to me by my grandma are under my parents' control. A few years ago, my mom said she wanted me to make her my power of attorney in case I was ever medically incapacitated from my T1D. At the time, I trusted her, but now I'm stuck unless I can afford legal help, which I definitely can't right now. They also owe me about $1,000, but that's a whole other thing. Why trade in a Lexus? It was a 2002 Lexus and so old it had a built-in ashtray and cigarette lighter. Why not move out already? Aside from everything I already said, I have type 1 diabetes, which is insanely expensive to manage. As much as I can't stand living at home, I don't want to make a rash decision and end up without insurance to cover my medical supplies. I'm in my sophomore year of college studying respiratory therapy. As soon as I graduate, I'll be able to get a stable job and move out as soon as possible. Until then, I just have to put up with the BS. How did talking with your parents go? About as good as expected. I basically got the classic, life's not fair, lecture. At this point I just feel defeated. There's no use in arguing and making them more mad. I'm so genuinely grateful for all the support I've gotten, it's definitely helped my mood to know I've got a whole community behind me. My 16-year-old sister just got a brand new, top-of-the-line car today. She's thrilled, of course, and already showing it off. But honestly, I feel a little resentful. I'm very grateful that my parents were able to help me with my first car, but I had to earn it. When my grandma passed away, she left me her early 2000s Lexus. It was outdated but still a nice car. We traded it in and used that value toward my new car. Even then, my parents made it clear I had to meet certain expectations. I needed a 4.3 GPA to become class vice president and to earn multiple healthcare certifications before they believed I had earned it. After all that, they still went with a basic Kia model, which I was totally fine with. Here's where my frustration comes in. My sister just got her car as a sophomore. She has struggled to maintain a 3.0 GPA, nearly failed some classes 2 years in a row, has gotten detentions for things like skipping class and vaping, and her room is genuinely disgusting. Clothes and trash cover every inch of the floor. My parents gave her only one condition to get a car: keep her room clean for 7 days straight. That never happened. Her grades stayed the same, the mess never improved, and yet she constantly pressured them about getting a car. Today they gave and they went to the dealership and came home with a brand new, fully loaded car. No trade-in. Full price. Of course I'm jealous. But more than that, I'm disappointed. She didn't do anything to earn it. I'm worried this just reinforces the idea that she can act however she wants and still get what she wants if she pushes hard enough. Maybe I sound bitter. I just feel defeated. I worked hard and followed every rule. She didn't, and still got rewarded. Let me know if I'm overreacting. Just needed to get this off my chest. Stories number 4. How can I, F24, deal with the fact my boyfriend, M26, dreads the idea of getting married? My boyfriend, M26, and I, F24, have been together for 5 years and he is being weird about marriage. We've talked extensively about having children in the future, buying a house together, and have even discussed how we want to handle finances after getting married. I thought we were ready to move forward in our relationship, but he told me months ago that he will not propose until he had $10,000 saved. I didn't agree with that number, but he would not budge. The discussion about marriage came up a few weeks ago and he caught me off guard. I showed him a video of someone talking about elopement because I know a big wedding would be overwhelming for him and he lashed out. He told me that he would dread whatever we do to get married because he hates having attention on him. This honestly upset me a bit, but I tried to let it go and move on. I'm not someone that needs a huge wedding, but I've always looked forward to celebrating the love I have with someone, and it was a bummer to hear that he didn't feel the same way. I tried talking to him about it again, but he had genuine anger about the topic. I dug deeper and tried asking if he had talked to his therapist about why he was so upset about it, and it was revealed that he ghosted his therapist 6 months ago. Obviously I wasn't particularly thrilled about this fact. He eventually opened up and said that he doesn't have an emotional attachment to getting married and he's upset that it isn't exciting like most people tell him it should be. The number he gave me was just a goal because he doesn't have emotions telling him that it's time. I once again tried to let it go until he had a chance to talk to a therapist about it. His parents brought up us getting married this past weekend and he told them that he wasn't looking forward to a wedding, and to try and make myself feel a bit better I said something along the lines of, "At least you'll enjoy asking me," to which he replied, "That's not the word I would use." I genuinely don't know if I'm crazy for wanting to stay with him and work this out. He made an appointment with his therapist to talk about this, but he's saying that he doesn't feel ready and can't name a single reason as to why he isn't ready. He's had a ring given to him by his family for around 3 years now but hasn't made much progress on a proposal plan from what he's told me. I'm not upset that he hasn't proposed yet, but I'm incredibly upset at his behavior towards marrying me. I've had to make sacrifices in this relationship, but I wasn't expecting to have to reduce my expectations to near zero regarding getting married. All I want is a chance to marry someone I love, wear a pretty dress, and have good photos that I can appreciate later down the line. It doesn't feel like I'm asking too much, but I've been wrong before. TLDR, my boyfriend dreads getting married and I don't know if I should put up with it. Update, how can I, F24, deal with the fact my boyfriend, M26, dreads getting married to me? Hey, I made a post about a week or so ago explaining that my boyfriend was suddenly acting really weird and angry about the idea of a wedding. It took a bit of time for him to think about it, but he sat me down the same night that I made the initial post and read me a letter he had been working on for about a week. He explained it was the second draft and not super polished, but when he started reading it, I felt the blood drain from my face. It was over 2,000 words about how I'm depressed, and here's all of the ways it affected him. He acknowledged it was the worst depressive episode he's ever seen me in, and instead of trying to get me help, he compared my negativity to his ex-girlfriend. He said so many hurtful things and later admitted that he never considered how the letter would affect me. I asked for a copy of the letter to go over in my own time, and as I read it on my own I realized that there was no saving the relationship. I will never stay with someone that would spend a significant amount of time writing something so hurtful and then saying it to my face. The idea of having children with someone who doesn't understand how damaging and hurtful their words are is a deal-breaker. The crazy thing is, this man also has depression and I've helped him through numerous depressive episodes without raising an eyebrow. I've been there when he couldn't get out of bed for days, I was there when he couldn't feed himself, and I supported him the best I could, and in return I get a shitty-ass letter telling me how I'm not good enough because my depression makes him feel yucky. We've been living together for years and signed a year-long lease about 2 months ago. The only way to break said lease is to pay 50% of the remaining 10 months. I'm not rolling in money, so that's not an option. They also don't allow for lease takeovers, and subletting is only allowed with special permission, but they are taking their sweet time getting back to us. Our current plan is for him to move in with his parents and pay rent so that we don't have to be around each other constantly. It's not a messy breakup, but things are still raw and it's hard not to slip back into the routine. It's hard going through a breakup when you still sleep right next to them every night. I deserve someone that wants to give me more than the bare minimum. I knew I deserved more, but I so desperately wanted this to be the man I spent my life with. I'm not okay yet, but I know this is the right direction. Stories number 5. Aita for being my dad's favorite child. I, 32F, have a younger sister, 31F, who is neurodivergent, and an older brother, 37M, a rainbow baby. Growing up, I often felt unwanted. My accomplishments were always overshadowed by my siblings. I was expected to cook, clean, get straight A's, especially since my brother dropped out of high school. My mom was always afraid I'd end up like him, yet still clearly loved them more. At 12 to 13, I really started noticing the favoritism. My brother could stay out until 2 a.m. with his stoner friends. My sister got shopping sprees with my mom's credit card. I couldn't even go to the library. My dad noticed this too, and we became close. He never said it, but it was obvious I was his favorite. I got a lot of crap for it, like my siblings would make me clean their rooms or yell at me when he wasn't around. My sister tried so hard to earn my dad's love and attention. I understood why. I just finally had one parent who asked about my day instead of just my grades and chores. Now, fast forward to today. My parents, siblings, and I were all catching up, rare, but nice. We were talking about the past, and the topic of favoritism came up. My sister said she felt my dad always loved me more. I waited until she finished and shared how I felt neglected by my mom. My mom got mad and yelled at me for accusing her of favoritism. Then my sister straight up asked my dad, "Do you love her more than me?" The room went silent. After a long pause, my dad said, "I wasn't oblivious to how your mom treated her. She treated her like she didn't exist. She needed extra love because you took it all from your mom." My sister completely broke down. She cried, screamed through things. I grabbed my purse and left. I went back to my apartment, turned off my phone, had some wine, and went to bed. When I turned my phone on the next morning, I had hundreds of texts and 70+ calls from my sister. I didn't open any of them. I just blocked her number and on all social media. My dad tried to bring it up, but I shut it down. My mom said nothing. My brother only said, "What the hell was that last night," in our group chat. No one replied. So, Aita for walking out and blocking my sister. Edit 1. First off, thank you guys so much for your response. Really, it means a lot that someone other than my dad finally agrees with me. Second off, I want to say that my sister's and I relationship has never been good. I always envied her. I am trying to be as transparent as possible, because she was adored in my mother's eyes, and I tried to please my mom as much as I could, but I could never make her as happy as my sister made her. And thanks to your guys' insight, I understand that she could possibly also feel the same way with my dad. Here is the thing though, when I said that she tried to make my dad love her like he loved me, it didn't mean doing things to make him proud, it means putting me down. If I missed a spot on the vacuum, she'd wait until my dad got home to tell her and point it out to him. By then of course my dad didn't really care, would just tell my sister that I tried my best, but my mom would absolutely get upset. And, my sister's neurodivergence has given her a lot of room to excuse. She doesn't take meds or see a therapist, and her big tantrums stopped when she was around 7. As of now, she is still blocked. I feel like she is old enough to not behave like how she acted. Also, for those of y'all that were saying how I'm 32, shouldn't be acting like this, well, this is a glimpse of how my household was like growing up, and if you think you would be normal after growing up in a household like this, kudos to you. I will update y'all when I unblock her. Update 2, so I ended up unblocking my sister the day after everything happened. Not cause I forgave her or was ready to talk. I just got curious. Like, okay, maybe she calmed down. Maybe she wanted to actually talk like an adult. Wrong. I unblocked her in the morning. Didn't say anything. By like 2 p.m. she was already blowing up my phone again. 12 missed calls. 7 texts in a row. No, hey, no, can we talk, just straight up, I can't believe you're still ignoring me, you're so selfish. You ruined the family. Dad only likes you cause you act perfect all the time, girl, you just outed yourself. Again. Like I didn't even say a word to her. I just quietly unblocked and boom. Immediate meltdown. Like she was waiting to press send on the tantrum. Then she had the nerve to send, "If you actually cared about me you wouldn't have embarrassed me like that." First of all, you embarrassed yourself. Second of all, maybe don't scream and throw stuff in front of everyone next time. I blocked her again. No warning. No response. Just block. Again. My dad asked if I unblocked her and I said, briefly, and he literally just laughed and said, figures, so yeah. No dramatic reunion. No healing convo. Just another reminder that sometimes people show you exactly why you walked away the first time. I think I'm ready to just cut her off. Not my mom, I know this is hard to hear for y'all, but she is my mom and I love her, and my brother has always been a stray from the family, so nothing seems too difficult or different with him. Stories number 6. Aita for not paying for my stepdaughter wedding. I 49M will keep this as short as possible, but basically my stepdaughter 25F wants to marry her boyfriend 25M, which was fine and all. I had the money to pay for the wedding, what could possibly go wrong? Her father 54M has never been in the picture her whole life. He was a deadbeat father, never took care of his daughter, never paid child support according to my fiancé anyway. My stepdaughter was never rude with me and always showed respect, so I always showed respect for her and bought all her the necessities she needed, maybe too much. Now looking back, I'm an effing ATM, what was I thinking? Anyway, since I'm paying for a 200k wedding, I just asked for my mother and her 2 step-siblings to receive invitations since they are her siblings. My fiancé and daughter were like, cool, we will. Now obviously this could be a mistake, but invitations come around. My stepdaughter informed me that she didn't want any children at her wedding. But that seemed odd to me because my fiancé's sister children were invited, so why wasn't her own siblings invited? I asked her and she said it was just a mistake. Probably a red flag, but we move. A few days later my daughter-in-laws come to my house and a question was asked by the in-law targeting my daughter, asking who's going to walk her down the aisle. My daughter announced it was her deadbeat F*** clown of a father. My fiancé was in shock from her announcement and my daughter kept going on about how they've been in touch and the fact that he's her true father, and at that point, I lost it. I announced that her real father can pay for the wedding, he can't, lol, since I'm a check for my stepdaughter. My stepdaughter started screaming at me and all the guests left the house. My fiancé wasn't too happy, stating that I humiliated her in front of her in-laws and the fact they spent a year planning. I stated that I wasted 200k on an ungrateful brat, maybe asshole for this, and spewed insults towards her father. As you can tell, I have hatred towards that man. So am I the asshole? Edit. I want to clarify a few things briefly. Just because you saw a similar story or situation doesn't mean whoever the stepfather was the only person to be in this situation. Secondly, my stepdaughter told me I would walk her down the aisle, then proceeded to lie and humiliate me in front of the guests. Thirdly, a few people asked why I laughed it off. Whenever I'm in bad situation I just like to laugh it off like Spider-Man, I guess. Edit 2. I'm waiting for mod approval before I can update. Second update, Aita for not paying for my stepdaughter wedding. I probably should have mentioned this in my previous post, but I had nothing to do with the planning, nor did I want anything to do with the planning. It was all my fiancé and stepdaughter planning. Well, a lot of you was concerned with the price of the wedding and you guys made me concerned too. So as some of you requested, I asked my fiancé about the planning of the wedding and I came to the conclusion that from asking that I've just been a check to my fiancé and stepdaughter this entire time. In the planning, the actual wedding itself would cost 40k, which I can understand as there are over 400 plus guests, we are South Asian, and the rest of 160k was spent on a honeymoon to Dubai. In this list of people, it contained my fiancé and her sister family, my stepdaughter, her man along with his parents, and this invitation disgusts me, her deadbeat F-father. At that point I went ballistic. I never agreed to pay for the honeymoon. Only the wedding and a honeymoon is supposed to be for the newlyweds, and my fiancé said this so calmly without any regret and expected me to be okay paying for other people's holidays, and how could she possibly be sane to think it was a calm and rational idea to invite the man who she claimed refused to pay child support and was verbally a holy. I lost my cool and told her that she and her daughter took advantage of my money and was selfish to leave her 2 young children alone with me. I work 45 hours at my business, and decided it would be a good idea to invite her deadbeat ex who literally tried to lay his hands on me years ago. She responded by saying it was her daughter idea. I then replied to her and said, you and your daughter have 7 days to get out of my house, and she started her circus act, but there was no going back. I then began the process of moving forward. I changed all my card pins so no more of my money can be used, and I began the refund process. I contacted the venues and they were actually really nice and offered refund, but it will take a couple working days, maybe weeks, for a refund. As for the tickets to Dubai, well, let's just say I'm a lucky bee, as I was able to refund the tickets, 75k, since I was still in fair conditions while the tickets were in used, which brought excitement to me. It hurts so much thinking how these people who haven't worked as hard as I have, thought it would be a good idea to use my money on first-class ticket to Dubai. My fiancé told her daughter that I refunded the wedding and she didn't take it well. I won't go into too much detail as I have talked long enough, but I was petty at the end and said that her real dad can pay for it. This has been a show of a couple days. I can't see my 2 young children every day now, and I have lost my fiancé, but some good news: my oldest son, 25M, gave his newborn son my surname, which made me smile. At least someone appreciates me. Edit. I'm going to take my kids to Dubai. Who doesn't love petty revenge? Final update. Am I the asshole for not paying for my stepdaughter wedding? Firstly, as soon as I kicked my ex and her daughter out of my house, they went to social media to accuse me of controlling them with my wealth and being petty over canceling the wedding because of small issues. However, what they didn't include in the post is the fact that I never agreed to paying for a honeymoon, which they didn't include in the post. Surprise, surprise. The second fact being my ex is saying I'm controlling them with my wealth, yet is still begging for me to take her back. And finally, the small issue being that I raised her daughter for 15 years, paid for basically everything for her, and when I asked for a small favor to walking her down the aisle, she turns on me and humiliates me in front of her in-laws. But I'm the bad guy and my ex and her daughter are innocent people. Make it make sense. My ex side of the family is sending threats to me, but do I really care? No. Secondly, I lost about 2K in total on refunding wedding stuff, which I believe is of course expensive, but overall a win on my side considering how I initially predicted I would lose 15 to 20K. But I thank my ex and her daughter for not spending 200K on a wedding but on a wedding and plane tickets to Dubai. They saved me lots of money. Thirdly, my stepdaughter somehow found this post through TikTok and she is ordering me to take it down, and to be honest I can't deny my thoughts, but I truly believe my ex and her daughter are narcissistic, as they truly believe their opinion only matter and that I don't deserve free will and should conform to them at all costs, but I won't. She is truly a hypocrite for suggesting that I should take down my post when she has a fake Facebook post blurting false facts. Maybe I'm the cause for these people being entitled. Fourthly, my kids are staying with me and they want to stay with me long term. My ex and her daughter went from a luxurious lavish lifestyle to a cheap apartment, and my kids, let's just say they didn't take it well and they want to stay me, which is a problem I need to solve since I work many hours, but I don't want my children suffering because of my ex. Finally, my ex-daughter and her fiancé broke me because of false promises of a nice wedding and honeymoon to Dubai, all gone. Her now ex-fiancé accused her and my ex of theft. I may have told him and his family about what they planned, and other things. I have truly got lots of respect for her now ex-fiancé. He completely understood my perspective and I can't thank him enough. My stepdaughter and her ex came into my house thanks to my younger children opening the door for them, and it turned into a shouting match that ended with me threatening to dial 999. They left the house blaming me for everything and I said, get your real dad to pay for wedding and honeymoon. I also told them that I'm going to Dubai with the kids and they didn't take that well. I wish I could cut my ex off, but unfortunately she is the mother of my 2 children. I have gotten petty revenge on my stepdaughter and ex by going on their dream holiday. Fourth post. My ex and her daughter tried booking a holiday to Dubai behind my back with my hard-earned money, so I kicked them both out of my house and took my children to Dubai. Life can do wonders. Editor note, this post contained a photo and I'm assuming it's OP at Dubai airport. Update, Aita for not paying for my stepdaughter wedding. You may have remembered this post from a year or two ago. I'm the idiot who nearly let his ex and stepdaughter spend £200,000 on a wedding and honeymoon. I deleted my Reddit account because I felt like I was at peace with my life, but life screws with you in the worst possible way. My mental health deteriorated over past few months after I left a long-term relationship with my ex. I didn't really mention that my state in my previous Reddit posts, but it has crumbled. I've been so busy with work that I haven't had time to be with my kids, and plus the fact that I don't have primary custody, I've been struggling. We had such fun in Dubai, but I knew it couldn't last. My ex doesn't even allow my kids to speak to me, and even if I want to speak to them, my kids aren't interested in me. I hate sense of being lonely. I've been through therapy, but it has ultimately taken me nowhere, and it's gotten that bad that I've not even been reliable at work. My son also lives far away, and what I'm saying is I'm struggling. I live in one big house all to myself. I'm thinking of just ending it all, and although it's selfish, I don't even think anyone would care. I don't know why I'm posting on Reddit, but Reddit's the only place that made me like I was actually cared for. Final update, Aita for not paying for my stepdaughter wedding. 6th post published 4 days ago. I've came to the conclusion that this is my final Reddit post and I can't take it anymore. I'm posting here because I don't think anyone in my family will care, and I've received many threats telling me to do so. I've tried interpersonal therapy, I've tried reading, I've tried making connections with others, but I'm tired of being used and ignored. All this loneliness has caused me to slack off and be overthrown at my father's workplace and be demoted and shamed. One of the happiest days of my life was being named after my grandson, and I can't even call him every day due to different time zones. I try calling my little kids every day, but my calls are ignored, and I'm just tired of trying to fight for a lost cause. Some people ask me what my hobbies are, and well, I would say looking about beautiful viewing is one of them. I'll link a photo in the comments. It's a beautiful view, just looking over the calm water. It's wonderful and peaceful. Anyway, thank you to the people who cared. I was suicidal while ignoring my children's suffering, and I'm such an asshole. 7th post published today. I'm sorry for being an asshole with my last post. I was genuinely considering ending it all, scaring people for no reason. I thought no one cared for me, but I was about to do it, but I received a phone call from my youngest asking if we can talk. She revealed that my ex's boyfriend is calculating and abusive, targeting her and hiding her scars in hidden spots so it's not visible, while forcing her and my son to be alienated from me. I really thought they didn't care for me, and now I feel like a pathetic father, drowning myself in work and not protecting my children from that monster while they have been living in fear. My mental state is not well, but I must stay strong for my kids. Thank you Reddit for helping me, for telling me, there is light down the tunnel. Miracles really can happen. That phone call put a fire in me that can't be extinguished now. This will probably be my last update, but I will drop work and do everything to protect my children. OOP's comments that provide context. A user asked what the currency is. OPP responded by saying, £200,000, so about $257,000. A user asked why OOP hasn't married his fiancée. OPP responded by saying, I will admit this, I don't want to marry my fiancée as 20-odd years ago I was destroyed financially. I survived from my father giving me a better position at work and his inheritance a years later, and while I wish I still had a father figure, I thank him for saving my life, but I guess I don't want to make the same mistake with my fiancée, but now I think I'm going to leave her from the shit she has done about this situation. Which sucks since I've been with her for 15 years. But I guess I'm kinda a knobhead because I told her I would marry her, but now I feel no regret from the revelations. A user commented, NTA, but who the fuck pays £275,000 on a wedding? That's a ridiculous amount of money to spend on a wedding. OPP responded by saying, I enjoy weddings and wanted to cherish the moment walking my daughter who I thought was mine down the aisle, and the costs was all my daughter and wife planning. A user commented, might be an Indian wedding. It's not that uncommon for Indian weddings to have 500 plus guests and to be incredibly extravagant and cost as much as a house. OOP responded by saying, I'm not Indian but I am South Asian, but yes you are right, there will be many guests, over 300, and yet my own mother couldn't be invited. Stories number 7. Aita for not talking with my mom because she told her boyfriend I was lame like my dad. So, last year my mom, 38F, left my dad for her old boyfriend Mike. He got out of jail and mom and dad were arguing a lot and she left to be with him. I've met Mike a few times, but generally when I'm with mom or at her place it's just her and me because she says she doesn't want to share her time with me with anyone else. Except since they've got together, my mom has changed a lot. For one, she dresses different and is way more affectionate. When she picks me up from school, she's always wearing Lululemon and will wait outside the car and hug and kiss me in front of everyone before we can go, and sometimes she hugs me in the morning until I wake up. She's made me start going to the gym with her, made me start taking my uncle's taekwondo classes, and on Sunday makes me wake up at 6 o'clock unless it's raining to go on runs. She always makes me get so tired in the gym, and my uncle is harder on me than anybody else in his class, and the morning runs ruin Sunday for me. I've told her all this, but she says it's for my good and especially gets upset when I complain about my uncle. 2 days ago I tried phoning my mom about something I left at her place and she didn't pick up. She but dialed me after, and when I picked up, I could hear her but she couldn't hear me and she was taking to Mike. It was just small talk, but then Mike brought me up and I heard her say to Mike straight up, he's so lame just like his dad. And then he asked if my mom would choose him over me and she said something like, obviously I'd choose my son, and that he needs to start being active in my life so I end up like him and not my dad. It made me so mad and I still feel that way, and yesterday she surprised me by picking me up from my uncle's class to take me to Dairy Queen and I just couldn't talk to her. She got really worried that something was wrong with me, and when she dropped me off at my dad's I know they got into an argument. Aita for not telling her. Comments. OOP on why his mother sends him to Taekwondo. The thing is that Taekwondo is literally in our family. My grandfather was friends with Grandmaster Han Chakyo, one of the first big masters of Taekwondo. My uncle even has a photo with him when he was younger than I am, a few years before he died, and my uncles even met Grandmaster Choi as well. So I literally can't get out of it because it's a family thing, and my uncle says I'm good too and that when I'm doing it, I'm representing him, so that's why he's harder on me than everyone else. I just get so tired doing it. OOP on his uncle and why Mike went to jail. My uncle would kick his ass if they ever fought, and I'm pretty sure Mike's afraid of him too since we all had a dinner and he was really quiet and polite to him the whole time. I don't know why Mike went to jail, and when I asked my mom just said it doesn't matter because he was innocent, and I don't know how she knows that but she believes it. OOP on why his mom is with Mike. I don't know, but she's happier with him than she ever has been with my dad. They used to date when they were in high school and I guess she always wanted to be with him. Second post. I'm not really sure what to type, but I feel like I need to write about some things that have happened. When I was writing my last post I was reading the Expanse books, and pretty much there's stuff in the second one about moms not seeing their kids. I know that's so different from my situation and it's not real, but I think that it's what got me really emotional and scared, and I didn't realize that until I looked back at it. Comments. So my dad pretty much told me that I needed to talk to my mom because he didn't want to deal with her and she was going to pick me up from school so we could work it out. When she did I just tried talking to her like normal or lying, but she knew I was lying and seemed really worried. So, I told her everything and it made her cry and I felt really awful, but then she started apologizing to me, which was really weird. She told me that she shouldn't have said that and she was wrong to say it and that I'm not lame. She said that I'm her only child and that sometimes she gets jealous of how much I'm like my dad and wishes I was more like her. She ranted about how much she hates my dad and how he ruined her life and it was his fault she said it. And then she started saying she'd die without me and promising that she was going to make it up to me and never say something like that again. And since then, she really has tried, like she'll come to school randomly during lunchtime and drop me off lunch or make special dinner for me or even help out with my uncle's classes. She's not as good as him but knows the lessons. But literally the week after she also forced me to go to counseling with her and is making me go with her every week now. All we do there is talk and we've talked so much now about what she said that and how I felt about it that I'm kind of annoyed by it. So yeah, I don't really like it but she seems to think it's helping and she even said once she should have made us go the moment she left my dad. Beside that, Mike proposed to my mom and she accepted and she honestly seems happier than she's ever been. She's been hanging out with his daughter and his niece a lot too to plan her wedding. I'm still not close to him or anything but I don't know, I don't feel like I can say anything with how happy my mom is. I mean, she's calling all of our relatives to tell them the news and telling me to start writing my speech. Dad's been pissed off ever since he learned. And the worst part is that after she made me admit this in the counseling she listened to the therapist and wants me to start going to sessions by myself. She said my uncle will take me on the days that she's going to book for me so I won't feel any pressure from her. I just hate it, I hate talking about these things and I wish I didn't have to. Comments. OOP on if his mom would let him stop therapy. I have no choice but to continue therapy, she's not going to let me stop. Maybe she'd let me stop the one we do together but not the one where I go alone. OOP on why his mom isn't going to let him stop. I have tried telling her that I don't feel like it's helping me but she just said that therapy's a process, that maybe going alone will make it better and that she's not going to risk my mental health and she should have had me start going months ago. OOP on if his mom cheated on his dad, she didn't cheat on him. I know that. When they were still together, they were both arguing and yelling a lot about everything. I know she wasn't happy back then I just wish she was. OOP on if he and his mom discussed her ranting about his dad at therapy, I did tell him. She brought it up herself actually and we talked so long about it and she agreed that she shouldn't have said that it was wrong and therapist literally said what you said that it showed she's not taking accountability. And then we wouldn't stop talking about it. It's just so exhausting. OOP on how long his mom and Mike have been together and if it was a fast engagement, they didn't immediately get engaged, they've been together for about a year now. I don't know why he went away but even if it was something bad, I just feel it wouldn't break my mom and him up because she already believes he didn't do anything wrong. OOP on the one useful part of therapy, my mom says that he was joking about that but I should focus on that she said she would choose me but you're right that it feels weird. That was probably the only useful thing I feel we talked about in therapy because I asked if she'd still choose me when she and Mike have kids and she told me she's not going to have any more kids because I am all she needs. But besides that it's just talking on in circles and exhausting. Stories number 8. Aita for poking fun at my cousin's divorce after she insulted my wedding. I, 29F, got married at 20. My husband and I were young, desperately in love, and super broke. I was never one to want a big wedding, so we kept it small. I will admit, my cousin, 36F, helped a ton with the decorations. I'm not one to be super into that stuff, I was fine with it just looking a little plain, but she wanted to make the day special for me and I appreciated it. I sang her praises the entire day, paid her for helping me after the fact, and literally made a speech the day of the wedding how grateful I was for her. I should also note she got married a few months before me in an extremely lavish, extremely expensive wedding. Her wedding day was actually perfect and everyone still talks about it. However, she got divorced about 4 years ago. I'm unsure what has caused this, but now any time we are together she makes fun of my wedding. She mocks how small it was, she mocks how corny the venue was, she insults my bridesmaids and my husband's family and how useless they were the day of. I normally don't react because honestly I don't care about her opinion. However, today we are at a large Father's Day gathering with all my family. From the second she saw me she started ragging on my wedding to her new boyfriend. I'm not sure but something in my brain just flipped and I said back to her, well at least I'm still married. Everyone in my family is upset with me. They said I went below the belt with that comment, but absolutely no one has ever checked her for insulting me over and over and over. Stories number 9. Can anyone help identify this old Korean show that my dad had a scene in? While my dad was on a work trip in Vietnam in 1993, he stepped in for an injured American actor during the shoot of a Korean TV show. Does anyone here know what series it might have been? In the spring of 1993 while my father was on a work trip to Vietnam, he was approached by the head of a Korean TV team. They had a bit of a problem, they were shooting a big scene for a Korean TV series about the Vietnam War. In the story it was the day of the fall of Saigon, the lead lady had met an American journalist who tried to get her to the American embassy. The actor who played the journalist had broken a leg or something, and there weren't that many white people in Ho Chi Minh City that looked like the American. So my dad stepped in, and in the scene where the American journalist attempted to get the Korean to the American embassy, the car got stopped by South Vietnamese irregulars and after a quarrel my father got killed, sort of. Great fun. However, my dad never found out what kind of series this was and if the scene ever was shown in Korea. Does anyone in our Korea know? He's wondered about it for almost 30 years, and he would love to see his young self get gunned down by the Viet Cong. Comments. Comment 1, probably is his name Michael. He's listed on the wiki page. Comment 2, I would like to add I think the English name is the Faraway River. It's from 1993. Comment 3, there are apparently Korean people asking about this online. Consensus is that it's unlikely there's a digital format of this anywhere and it would likely be difficult to even find an analog version as most Korean stations and studios don't archive footage the way the US does. Update, thanks to the help r/Korea, after almost 30 years my family can see my dad get gunned down by the Viet Cong. So, the past 24 hours have been an absolute blast. I really thought it was a long shot but here it is Milky Moo Sr. getting his 15 seconds of fame on the streets of Ho Chi Minh. Here's what happened. Yesterday you/LaughingStorm messaged me about the Korean blogger, Yongcholburger, who collects old rare shows and writes about them online. You/LaughingStorm wondered if I would be interested if he sent a request to Yongcholburger about the scene from what appears to be the series, The Faraway River. I immediately said yes and lo and behold a couple of hours later, Yongcholburger, who apparently has some rare copies of shows like The Faraway River, found the scene in question, sent a file of it to you/LaughingStorm who passed it on to me. And there is no doubt about it, that's my old man. At the 1 o'clock you can see the actor my dad stepped in for, and after that the character's face isn't showed again. The director probably did this to hide the fact that they had to swap him out with a white guy they found at a bar around the corner because the American actor had broken his leg and couldn't do the shoot. I can clearly hear his Norwegian accent and I recognize the actors playing the VC soldiers from the photos my dad's colleague took from behind the scenes. For almost 30 years we have wondered about this scene, and it has brought immense joy to the entire family to finally see this scene which has become a bit of family folklore. Comments. Commenter 1, I can't believe that this actually worked out so easily and so fast. It was awesome and heartwarming to see so many people being interested and ready to help. It couldn't have been this easy without. There's nowhere to find the show online, so this man had personally contacted the TV station to get the archived copy which is about $27 per episode. And he made meticulous posts about his collection so it was easy to find him online. When I first reached out to him I wasn't sure whether he'd respond, but he not only replied right away but also remembered the exact episode number of what I was talking about. The rest is history. Comment 1, quite surprising to know that there was a Korean film crew in Vietnam during that time, since it was probably only months after formal diplomatic ties were established between the two countries. Reply, according to the director, my dad tells me, this was one of the first foreign productions about the war in Vietnam that was filmed on location. Comment 2, did your dad do any more shows after this one? Reply, not at all. This and the time he played Joseph at a nativity play as a child are dad's experiences with acting. Comment 3, I was in a commercial in 1994 and always wanted to show my kids so I'm sure your family is stoked to finally have this. Stories number 10. Owner fired my dad, then came asking for work denied. Back in 1997, my stepdad was the operations manager at a company that did telecommunications work. He hired me to work at the company for the summer, but I ended up enjoying the work and made a career out of it. About 4 months into my employment at the company, the owner and my stepdad had a disagreement over something very trivial and the owner fired my dad. Since he's my stepdad, we have different last names, and I didn't feel like I would get caught up in this issue. I had my own issues with this company as well. Mostly not being paid correctly and being denied benefits promised. Ended up working for another 18 months for the company before I left to work for a major telecommunications provider that we had done some work for. At the new company, I eventually took a position where I was responsible for hiring contractors, much like the company my dad and I worked for, to do construction. One day I got a call out of the blue from the owner of the contractor company. He wanted to see if he could get on my list of approved contractors and was hoping we could discuss it over lunch. Typically a project of this type would be a $75,000 to $200,000 project, and I would do 20 to 30 projects per year, so it could be a lucrative source of revenue for them. I agreed to a lunch date with the owner at a fancy restaurant I always wanted to try. His pitch consisted of telling me what his company was capable of, how he valued his employees and took good care of them. He mentioned the list of other companies he's done work for and the quality of the work. I mentioned that I used to work for his company and he clearly didn't remember my name. I also asked if he remembered the guy who hired me, and he said he did. When I mentioned he was my stepdad, the look of panic in his eyes set in. He clearly remembered my stepdad. I closed out the lunch meeting with a thank you for the food and an apology that my contractor list was full of more capable contractors, but would keep him in mind if something were to change. Never heard back from him again. Stories number 11. Parents have no right to complain about kids always being on their phones when they never let them go outside. Title pretty much says it all. I'm Gen Z. When I was a kid I was living of the age of the 3DS, TV, and YouTube becoming more mainstream. I'm incredibly grateful I was born just before it became normalized to let an iPad distract your baby because I was instead drawing, reading, and playing child-friendly games. However, I cannot tell you how many times I begged my parents to take me to the park, or to the zoo, or to let me go to a friend's house only to be met with, "You're too young," or "Not now, I'm tired," only to be scolded for watching too much TV. As I grew older it became more frustrating because I think they were more paranoid for me because I'm a girl, but I remember getting insanely skeptical when I'd watch a movie starring kids my age. And their parents would just let them do whatever as long as they got home before nighttime, to which my father would brag about how he was always outside as a kid and almost never in the house with his buddies, and it made me feel incredibly angry, especially since my mom and grandparents had similar stories of doing whatever for hours. As I kept getting older I kept waiting for my opportunity to do that too, but it pretty much never came because they were convinced I'd be murdered. When I was 17, I was visiting my father during summer break. While he left for work he would explicitly tell me I'm not allowed to leave the house. I asked him if I could at least go to this park that's a 5-minute walk away for an hour and he said, "No, I can see on the cameras if you leave the house and if you do you're grounded." So of course if I didn't have any more inspiration to draw I'd have no choice but to watch TV, to which he would still get mad because, "Don't tell me you just watch TV all day." Now parents are just straight up giving their toddlers iPads then complaining that they're always on it and that they cry when they can't have it. Take them somewhere then FFS. You are the parent. Let your kids make memories. Stories number 12. My company is threatening to strand me out of town if I won't work an extra day. July 2013. I submitted a 2-week notice to my employer, typed out and very professional. I specified in the letter when my last day would be, and everything seemed to be okay. Well, they asked if I could go out of town and do a job my last week of work, and we clarified that I would be leaving the day my notice was up, because I would no longer be an employee of their company, and they said that was fine. Now they are telling me that I have to stay and work a day after my notice is up, and they say that if I leave any earlier than that, they're going to take my company truck and I'll have to find my own way home, even though my truck is still full of my tools and such. Do they legally have to provide me with a ride home? Or are they allowed to take all my things and leave me stranded 7 hours from home? Editor's note: Allison's advice not posted per her request. But she brought in an attorney for extra advice, so worth a read. Update: my company is threatening to strand me out of town. I talked with HR about everything my boss was doing and how he was threatening to take my things and leave me stranded, and so they called him, and he was told that if he didn't let me take my truck home that he had to provide me with a ride back to my house because it was requirements for my company. He still went about 3 days without calling me, so I just left. I had written everything out in my 2-week notice, so I just took the chance. He didn't say anything about me being in major trouble because he knew that I was done. They had me turn everything into the local office, and when I did I had the manager sign a paper accounting for everything returned, so if something was to go missing, I wouldn't be at fault. It's a good thing I did though, because my company iPhone randomly went missing, and even though they tried to say that I stole it, I had the signature to show otherwise. In the end, there was nothing that really ended too horribly. Just irritated that people in authoritative positions act so ridiculously. Stories number 13. Aita for leaving my friend's birthday party after she didn't let me in her house. I, F23, was invited to my friend Sasha's, F23, birthday party. It was for a Friday at 8:30 p.m. We would start at her house to pre-game and then go to bars. I had work that day from 7 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. but I really wanted to go, so I rushed home, ate dinner, got ready, and drove to her place. We were texting the whole day about the plans and she seemed very excited for me to join her and her friends. I am acquainted with her friends but not besties. I arrived at her house at 8:30 on the dot. I hung up the phone with my boyfriend and texted her to let her know I was there. She said, "Okay," so I walked up and knocked on the door. I heard music and people talking inside, so I knew they were there. Nobody answered. I noticed she had a Ring camera, so I waved in front of it knowing Ring notifies people's phones. Still nobody let me in. I knocked louder and texted her that I was at the door, but I was neither let in nor texted back. I knocked even louder and started shouting, "Hey Sasha, I'm here." I finally hear footsteps coming to the front door, but instead of letting me in, I heard the deadbolt lock click locking me out. I walked away from the door and called my boyfriend to tell him what was going on. I told him my feelings were hurt and that I wanted to go home. He convinced me to stay and knock again, rationalizing that it was a miscommunication. I texted her again saying, "Okay, I'm out front." Sasha immediately answered, "Okay, sounds good." So I knocked again. No answer. I heard the music get turned down and Sasha say, "Guys, I think she's here." So I knocked as loud as I could and said, "Yes, I'm here. It's me." Footsteps came towards the door, and again the deadbolt sounded and the door remained locked and the footsteps walked away. At this point I had been knocking for 12 minutes. I was so upset and angry that I left and texted Sasha, "So I've been knocking for over 10 minutes and no one let me in, so I'm going home." She immediately called me, but I didn't answer because I was afraid I would say something out of anger that I would have regretted. She texted me that she looked through the peephole and did not see me. I think that's BS because she literally had a Ring camera. I told her that my feelings were hurt and I felt unwelcomed. I did not receive an answer. Aita for leaving. What could be the reasoning behind this? Stories number 14. Aita for refusing to babysit my sister's kids after she called my job not real work. Okay, so this just happened and I'm still kinda salty. I, 25F, work full-time from home as a customer support rep for a tech company. It's not glamorous, but it pays the bills and lets me work in pajamas. Win-win, right? My older sister, 33F, has 3 kids under the age of 7 and is constantly overwhelmed. Totally understandable. She's a stay-at-home mom and I genuinely respect how much work that is. We've always helped each other out, or, well, I've helped her out. She texted me last week like, "Can you come watch the kids this Saturday for a few hours? I need a break." I was like, "Hey, I'm slammed with work this week and I need the weekend to catch up on errands and decompress. Can we maybe do another time?" And she hits me with, "Must be nice having a fake job and no real responsibilities." Excuse me, I called her out and said, "Just because I don't have kids doesn't mean I don't work hard. My job is real. My life is real. And I'm not your backup nanny." She flipped it on me and said I'm being selfish and don't understand what it's like to be a real adult with real stress. I reminded her that I pay rent, bills, groceries, and my own health insurance, and I do it all while dealing with cranky customers who think I'm secretly controlling their Wi-Fi. So now my mom's involved, saying I should just let it go and help my sister because family supports family. But like, I was willing to help until she insulted my whole existence. Aita for saying no and setting a boundary. TLDR, sister asked me to babysit, I said no because I'm burned out. She called my job fake and said I don't have real stress. I told her off and now the family's mad. Aita. Comments. Commenter 1. NTA, and I'm so tired of families using that BS line on the one family member they rely on to pull up the slack, but never returning the favor or showing any appreciation. Tell your sis you're busy running fake errands and paying fake bills with the money from your fake job. Oh, and anything left over is going towards a fake vacation with your spare time. Reply, OMG haha yes. I'm seriously tempted to make fake vacation t-shirts at this point. Maybe I'll send her a postcard from my imaginary beach getaway paid for with Monopoly money. But seriously, thank you. It's weird how some people act like being child-free equals free labor. I love my niece and nephews, but I'm not the family intern. Commenter 2. Tell your mom she can watch the kids on Saturday to give sis a break. After all, family helps family. Commenter 3. It's nice volunteering other people's time, ain't it? Commenter 4. NTA you spawn them, you raise them. Reply, honestly I didn't push them out, I shouldn't have to clock in as the unpaid babysitter. Commenter 5. Tell her your mother said she will babysit, that it's no problem for, quote her, family helps family. That you don't have the time at all, but she has no problem taking her grandkids anytime. Update. Hey Reddit fam, first off, thank you to everyone who validated that I'm not crazy for wanting to not be insulted and still be expected to babysit. So here's what happened since the original post. After the whole fake job drama, I went low contact for a few days because I was still annoyed and honestly, I didn't want to say something I'd regret. My sister kept texting things like, "Are you seriously still mad?" and, "It was just a joke, you're so sensitive." Which, sure, insult me and then call me sensitive, classic move. Anyway, last weekend rolls around, aka the day she originally wanted me to babysit, and I stayed home in my very real pajamas doing very real work. Around 3 p.m., my mom texts me a picture of all the kids with the caption, "So tired, but worth it," she had to step in and babysit instead of me. I didn't even know that was the backup plan. Cue the guilt trip follow-up call, mom goes, "See what happens when you say no." I go, "You mean I keep my sanity?" She didn't laugh. Then the kicker, my sister called me the next day and said, "I guess you really are serious about your job." Like? Yeah girl, my Wi-Fi doesn't pay itself and neither does my rent. Just because I don't leave the house doesn't mean I'm sitting around doing face masks and watching Netflix all day, okay sometimes, but not when I'm working lol. She gave me a half-hearted apology, which included the words, I didn't mean to offend you that much, so, not exactly growth. Anyway, I told her I'm still happy to help when I can, but if she wants a guaranteed sitter, she can hire one. Apparently that made me cold, but at this point I'd rather be cold than used. TLDR, sister doubled down, mom guilt-tripped me, and I stood my ground. Still not the unpaid nanny, still working a fake job that pays real bills. Comments. Commenter 1. Stay LC for the time being. If you jump back in it will be a recurring problem. Side note, where is the dad? Commenter 2. Good for you, but where is the father of these kids? And if my mother said so tired but worth it, I would have told her great, then you don't mind doing it again. However, my family knows why no, after 50 years in this world my mouth will go there and I'm not a doormat. Stories number 15. Aita for not asking my girlfriend's father for permission to marry her. So I feel like the normal situation I read about is the opposite situation, but I personally feel I am in the right here. I, 30M, been dating my girlfriend, 29F, for 4 years now, and things have all in all been pretty good. We both don't see eye to eye politically on many things with her father, but still visit him and her mother fairly frequently around holidays, and he is friendly enough to know to not bring up politics around the both of us because we don't agree, but I digress. I've talked about proposing to my girlfriend over the past couple months and about what she wants, etc., and she mentioned she wanted me to ask her dad for permission. I was kind of taken aback by this. Isn't a normal thing my girlfriend would say. So I asked why. She said because it's something she would like me to do, her sister's husband did it, and some wedding funding from him would likely be contingent on me doing this. I came back with that I wouldn't be asking another person for permission to marry her. It's an extremely outdated tradition for one, and I'm a 30-year-old person, I can do what I want to do with someone I love. I don't need anyone else's permission. She got mad and said I just needed to do it, because it's a small thing to ask for, and she wants some of the money to have a few more things at our wedding that we won't be able to afford without it. I'm continuing to stand my ground about not asking for this. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. I'd say YK. I can completely understand it being outdated, and I can understand if you end up feeling embarrassed or something by doing it, but she's asking this of you. Being married means that sometimes you compromise on your own comfort to make the other one beyond happy. Also, it's not a bad thing to have financial help towards the wedding, and if asking permission is a way to do that, it's pretty easy. I'll also point out that my husband also contacted my father. But it wasn't, do I have your blessing to marry your daughter, and more, hey, I love your daughter so much I'm going to ask to marry her. It was just more letting him know of his plans, you know. Reply. I think that is the route I'll propose with my girlfriend. I just don't like the asking permission part, so like you said, if I phrase it as more of a, I'm doing this and want to let you know because I respect you, I think that will make both sides happy. Thanks for the suggestion. When told to ask for her father's blessing rather than permission, I suggested this with asking for both parents and was told that her father will likely want to speak to me alone on it and won't include the mother if I try to ask with both of them. Again, I don't mind telling them I'm going to do this, but the blatant, you have to ask me and only me, is what's really off-putting for this. Commenter 2. Do you think her father would use this as an opportunity to lord it over you? Is he the type of person who would take advantage of the situation to try to get you to humble yourself for him? Reply. He won't lord it over me, but it's just his personality to be the overprotective father. The typical, I own a shotgun so treat her right thing was said when I first met him, so it's always been this way. Update 1. So after reading a lot of the responses in the original thread, I decided to ask for my girlfriend's parents' blessing. I told her I was going to do it and she was very happy. We were going to visit about 2 weeks after I posted the thread, and I figured it would be a good opportunity to ask. So my fiancée went for a run one morning and I was lounging around talking with her parents, when I said I'd like to talk to them about something. They both kind of smiled like they knew what I was going to say, and immediately her dad says, let's go talk in the garage. So him and I go out there and I phrase it like some people told me to, I want to marry your daughter and I'm letting you know that I plan to propose because I love her. I also want to get your blessing because I respect you and your wife. He was pleased with the answer and smiled and gave his approval for me to propose. All I needed. The proposal went great about a month later. Romantic and just like I had planned, my fiancé loved it. So this past Sunday we were discussing venues and the ceremony and my fiancé casually said, well, Dad wants us to get married in this church so we'll be doing it here. Now I'm not religious and I wouldn't mind getting married in a church, but again, why does his opinion matter for our wedding? So I asked, anything else your dad wants for our wedding? And then said we also needed to stay in separate rooms the night before our wedding too per her father, hilarious since we've been living together for almost 2 years. This led to a massive argument about the wedding, the role of her dad in her life. I told her that up until a couple of months ago, it seemed like she couldn't have cared less about what her dad thought. But would it stop with the wedding? Would it continue on if we had children? Her excuse was that, she was ruining her dream wedding and it was contingent on appeasing her father. She didn't understand why I couldn't compromise and get her the extra cash to get her the wedding she had always dreamed of. So I told her, I'm not ready to get married if this is the stance you're going to take with your father, and that did not go over well. The yelling started and things started being thrown at me, so I left. I called my buddy and went to his place. He gladly let me come over. I've got tons of missed calls from her, some texts ranging from, I miss you, let's talk it out, to, you're an abuser trying to separate me from my family. I just honestly don't know where this behavior is coming from. It's like my fiancé has been taken over by some bridezilla that only cares about having a perfect wedding. I'm just taking time to think about everything and what I want to do next. I'll maybe update again after this, but for now, things aren't looking too great for the future of our relationship. Just trying to keep my head above water. Relevant comments. Commenter. This guy is a control freak. All the things his fiancé is suggesting are totally normal things that people do. Having a conversation, not even asking permission per se, just having a conversation and getting their blessing, with your intended's parents before proposing is totally normal and common. Getting married in a family's church even if you aren't especially religious is normal. Most people spend the night before their wedding apart. All totally normal things. These are pretty tame requests from someone who is funding the wedding, and all are things this guy would probably be doing anyway. This dude wants to get into a dick measuring contest with his future FIL and is pissed that his fiancé isn't deferring to him. Reply. OP here. We would have been funding 80% of the wedding, the extra 20% or so were extras that my FIL said he would cover, but only if we fulfilled certain requests. I don't mind doing things that she wants. But I want a say in these things too, especially since we will be paying for a majority of it. When asked if anything new happened, here, to be completely honest, not much. Wedding is still on hold for the moment. We've had maybe 2 brief phone calls. One where it started out okay and then it turned into where she couldn't say anything because she was crying so hard. And another brief one to set up a time and place to just talk things out. I'll maybe update depending on how it goes. I've been mostly trying to pick up OT when I can and focus on work. Easier when I don't have to think about all this other crap. At least I got some away time to play some Hogwarts Legacy LOL. New updates. The wedding is not happening. We broke up. I've just moved into a new place after staying with a friend for a bit, and am just figuring out life. Just working and staying busy with my golf league. We ex and I tried to make it work for a little while after my update, and I think we both realized that after what had transpired, it wasn't going to work. So, that's what I got for you. Not that exciting. But hey, honestly life is pretty boring most of the time, unlike what most people on Reddit would like you to believe LOL. Another update. Hey everybody, kind of forgot about this account to be honest. I was thinking about this the other day and logged in and had a couple people asking how I was doing. To be honest, not much has changed. I think last I left you, I had just moved into a new place and my ex and I had separated and we had called off the wedding. For about 4 months or so I didn't have contact with my ex, we just figured it would be best to go our separate ways. I just buried myself in my work and kept trying to keep my mind off her. But out of the blue I got a message from her, just asking how I was doing. We ended up texting for a bit over the next couple days, and we ended up deciding we wanted to meet up for a quick round of drinks just to get some closure. Drinks went well and we continued to text maybe once every 2 weeks or so. One thing led to another and a random night I got a text from her asking to come over to her new place, so I did. We've kept this arrangement going now for a while. No plans on getting back together at all, but it's nice to feel like a normal person every 2 to 3 weeks. So that's really it. Work is good and I'm thinking about potentially getting back out into the dating world soon. I'll have to end the arrangement with my ex if so, but I think she'll be understanding. Anyways, appreciate you all asking about me. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Did she ever give any excuse for her behavior back then? Seems kind of wild to go from happy in love, to engaged, to broken up in such a short amount of time. Reply. That's a fair question. I didn't get too deep into that. It basically just came down to her wanting the extra cash for the wedding. She was just so hell-bent on having the perfect wedding and was willing to do anything to get that. She realizes she was wrong now, or at least she says she does. My hesitation is obviously still there because I don't know if she is truthful or not. Commenter 2. I suppose the real question is then, how would this time be different? If it was to be a reconciliation, in her desire to get money for a wedding, she instead imploded her entire relationship and got no wedding at all. Seems a steep price to pay for a single day. If you started over, would expectations be different? Would her family accept you back into the fold? She seems to have a rather traditional father/family. Would he give his blessing and financial contribution a second time, and if not, would she be okay with that? Do you even want a relationship with a partner's family that is conditional to you following the rules they have? You aren't just marrying a person, you are marrying into a family. So if you are interested in trying to start again, some of these things might need to be considered. Reply: I guess I should clarify, when I said get back into dating I didn't mean with my ex. I think we've both realized the arrangement is convenient for the time being, but I have no intentions of getting into another relationship with her. That trust has been broken. Stories number 16. My 21F friend, 21F, invited herself on my trip and won't take no for an answer. Advice please. My US friend group is pretty diverse and we've all visited each other's home countries in the past 2 years. We either stayed in a hotel or a family home, depending on space. I'm going to my home country for 2 months and a half in the summer. All of my friends have known since Christmas pretty much, and all of them know it's not an open invite like usual because I'm not going for fun. I'm spending my time there with my family and I'm going to be busy with my fiancé finalizing everything wedding related. So, my friend decided that she didn't want to go home for the summer, instead wanted to come with me and decided that she'll just stay at my family home like before. I told her that it really won't be a good time, plus, we're not opening the family home for anyone outside of family this year, for a very good reason. Instead of accepting that, she asked about my other accommodations. I told her they're in use and not available. I didn't offer a hotel, and from the way she's been talking, she can't afford one right now. So instead of giving up, she said that she can just go there and figure it out then, which in my opinion translates to, I will fly there and make it your problem so you have no choice but to accommodate me. I told her if she does that, she'll have to truly figure it out on her own because I'm not budging or folding. She laughed it off and told me that obviously because she didn't mean it like an ultimatum. I asked her if she's okay, if there's something going on at home or with her personally etc., because it's not like her to do something like this. She said everything's good. I, however, feel like I'm stuck. If she goes through with her brilliant figure-it-out plan, she'll be a foreign woman in a country she's only visited twice before with a guide, aka me, who doesn't speak the native language or understand the map, etc. I can't leave her alone no matter what I warned her I'd do. Advice, please. Edit. So I took the advice and sent her a long text copy-pasted from one of the comments with just a few things changed up. Then I sent another text to my friends group chat just to make sure again that they know it's not an open invite, and then I wrote out why I'm making sure and what's been said between my friend and I. She left me on scene privately but replied in the group chat that she's not daft, she understood me perfectly the first time and what she decides to do with her time and vacation is none of my business. I told her that she should stop making it my business then and stop telling me about her summer plans altogether if it involves my home country. She replied that I don't have a claim to the country, and that my family's reason for not opening up our home is stupid and that we need to get over ourselves because it's not the second coming of Christ. I told her she's free to her opinion just like I'm free to mine and that in my opinion, she's acting like an entitled brat. I added that she should lose my number until she's ready to apologize, tell me what's wrong, because she's clearly not okay emo, it's not like her, and talk it out like adults. If anyone's wondering, what she perceives as not the second coming of Christ is my eldest brother and his wife welcoming their second baby in mid-July and my parents, my other older brothers and I being the village that we are and helping them while also spoiling my toddler nephew rotten lol. So no guests or visitors are allowed outside of our immediate family while my Isael heals and she and my brother adjust, per their request. Update, my 21F friend, 21F, invited herself on my trip and won't take no for an answer. Advice please. Right, so I was asked to update when I made my first post, and I thought I would if she did end up coming after August-September. However, things ended up happening much sooner. We didn't talk for nearly 2.5 weeks after my last text, and I didn't see her much at Hangouts since she was mad at the rest of our friends as well. They didn't exactly take sides, but they did point out that her plan was plain stupid. Anyway, she ended up coming to one of the girls' place for a group dinner, and we had a private-ish chat. She finally opened up about why she's acting like that, and as it turns out, she has a huge crush on one of my brothers and was hoping she'd get him alone this summer and shoot her shot with him. It's annoying, but I've been used to having friends having crushes on my brothers and my dad my whole life, so I just let her talk. She admitted that she has been sending him DM on IG trying to get to know him, but he's been politely cordial at best and ignores half of her texts. Then she started asking me about him, about his dating history, which had me disgusted because he's bi, and she wanted statistics on if he's been more into girls or guys so she can figure out her chances, and then asked me to help her out. She gave me examples of moments that happened on our last trip with me and my brother, dancing/water fights/karaoke/etc., that I could help her recreate with him, which is just disturbing because she made my brother and I sound romantic and it just helped multiple my disgust. When she was done, I told her that she needed to come out of her fantasy and back to reality. She was starting to creep me TF out. I told her that the fact is that my brother isn't shy. If he was interested in her, he would act like it, and him ignoring her speaks volumes. Besides that, I told her that she knows I don't involve myself in any of my brother's relationships, and even if I did, I would never allow anyone to use me for insider information. Then I said that this conversation was over and to never bring it up with me again. She got pissed as told me that I'm possessive and acting like a guard dog to my brothers and that I need to get over myself because there was a spark between them on our last trip. I just got up, said bye to my friends, and left because she's clearly deluded herself into believing something that doesn't exist. On our last trip, my brother was so into the guy he was seeing at the time that he accidentally called the rest of our brothers by his name multiple times, lol. Anyway, I've cut her off completely, and with everything that's happening right now, she got scared of traveling and dropped her plans. What she told my friends, it sucks to lose her as a friend since we were close and all that, and I don't know how it'll affect the group yet, but shit happens and I have too much going on to dwell on it right now. I on the other hand, moved up my traveling and will hopefully be back in my home country in the next few days along with my family, which will allow us to celebrate my dad and one of my brothers on Father's Day, so yay, we celebrate on the 21st there. Stories number 17. Aita for returning my nephew's birthday present after he destroyed my property, after his parents refused to pay for damages to my property. I 19, am a college student. I worked overtime to get everything I have now. I worked overtime to get my new car, that I have been saving up for 4 years, my new steering wheel cover, etc. My nephew's birthday party is scheduled for tomorrow. I got his present a week ago. I got him a new computer, because he wants to play computer games. My fiancé pitched in to help get the computer as well. Today everything took a wrong turn. My nephew and his mother, my sister, were at my home today. My sister doesn't like to discipline her son. I love my nephew, but at times he is a spoilt brat. She lets him talk to people however he pleases and lets him do as he pleases. I have tried to work with my nephew on this, and I have complained to my sister about his behavior many times. I looked past it the past couple days because his birthday comes up tomorrow. Today I was fed up with their behavior. My sister was outside with my nephew, he was playing in the yard. I figured since my sister was with him, I could go inside to put the chicken in the sink to thaw out for dinner. I heard a loud breaking noise outside. I go outside to see that my windshield was shattered. I was in shock. I go into the car and see a huge rock in the car. I was furious. We have cameras in our backyard and a dash cam in our car. We looked at the cameras to see that my nephew took a huge rock and threw it at our windshield. I was shaking because of how upset I was. I worked hard for that car. I asked my sister, why weren't you supervising him? My sister said, I was. I said, if you were you wouldn't have let him throw a giant fucking rock at my car. How do you plan to fix the situation? My sister looked at me like I was insane, and said, you should have been out here watching your car if you were so worried about him causing damages. My fiancé told her and my nephew to leave. They left shortly after that. An hour later I go to the store where I bought his computer. Luckily I kept the receipt. I returned it. I should be getting the money back that I paid for it soon. I used a debit card to do the purchase, so those can typically take 3 to 10 days for the money to hit the account. If I had paid cash, the refund would have been immediately. Learned the hard way, I should have paid cash instead. A few hours later my sister texted me. She said, can you bring nephew's name gift to me today? I want to have all his gifts there for his birthday party tomorrow. I responded, sister's name, I will not be bringing nephew's name gift to the party. He damaged my car, which by the way will cost a lot of money to fix. You didn't seem to care that your son damaged property that wasn't his. I returned his gift to get the money back, to pay for damages since you won't pay for damages. My sister didn't text me back for a while. She called our mother and father. My mother and father screamed at me saying I made my nephew cry because he won't get a present from me at his party. Stories number 18. My husband refuses to change our baby's diapers. My husband, 23M, and I, 22F, have a beautiful 8-week-old daughter. He seemed somewhat excited to be a dad throughout my pregnancy, but I feel like maybe he wasn't as excited as I thought/hoped. We had a miscarriage in November of 2023 and he seemed more excited during that pregnancy than he did this time. Throughout the pregnancy he would say he is excited but that he doesn't want to change diapers because it's gross. I had a talk with him about how I understand why it can be intimidating because he is a man and she is a baby girl and she has different parts than he does and it can feel intimidating to clean those parts correctly because he has never changed a diaper before. I reassured him that I would be here to help and show him what to do. He even practiced putting a diaper on a stuffed teddy bear before I had the baby. I thought he would get over it after I had the baby, but he did not. He refuses to even be in the room while I change her. Every time I bring it up and ask, so when do you want to start changing her diaper? He just says, we're doing this again. Unamused face, I do not regret having my baby. I have always wanted a baby and was definitely ready, but I feel like he was not ready. Am I overreacting? How can I talk with him about this? Edit to add, I asked him what is so gross about changing diapers and he said, everything. The different parts, and then kinda trailed off like there was more to that sentence than what was said. He said that she is never away from me, so why should he have to do it? He said, why would I take her from you to change her and then bring her back when you could just do it? And I said, because you're her dad. What if something happened to me? Or what if I had to leave her with you for an hour or two? And he said at that point he would look it up on YouTube and wouldn't leave her sitting in a soiled diaper. Update. So I read all 416 comments on the previous post. You all collectively agreed that I was not overreacting, that my husband is a shitty father and husband, that I married a loser, and that I should leave if he doesn't change his ways. So after he got home from work last night the baby needed to be changed, so I asked him to come into the other room and simply observe while I changed the diaper, and he agreed. I said he could observe a few diaper changes and then when it was just a plain pee diaper I would let him know that it's his turn, and he once again argued about not wanting to change diapers. I told him that he will eventually have to suck it up because he is a parent now, and if he didn't want to be a parent he shouldn't have agreed to become one. He said he didn't want to be a dad as bad as I wanted him to be, and that he only got me pregnant because I wanted to be a mom so bad. I reminded him that he was the one who got the conversation about kids started several years ago when he said he wouldn't mind having a kid. He said yeah, I wouldn't mind, and then I cut him off and said but you only want the fun parts and not any of the gross non-fun parts. I told him that I'm on the verge of being burnt out and that I feel like a married single mom. He said I was bashing him and I said I wasn't bashing, but simply pointing out the obvious, and then I left the room because the baby was crying to be fed. He joined me in the other room a few minutes later to apologize, and restated that he just doesn't want to change diapers. I asked him what the issue is with changing diapers and he said he feels like a man shouldn't change little girls' diapers. He is afraid people will see him as a pedophile. I told him nobody will see him as a pedophile because that is his child. It would be different if he volunteered to change a little girl that wasn't his child. I told him that he should start sooner rather than later because the diapers won't get any easier, they will only become nastier. In the end he agreed to observe a few diaper changes to learn what to do, and then start with pee diapers and maybe eventually change poopy diapers. He seems to have a serious issue with the poop part, but I told him we could get some rubber gloves and some masks and put peppermint oil on the mask so he won't have to smell it. One of you recommended the peppermint oil on the mask, good idea by the way. I will be asking him to join me for every diaper change between the time he gets home from work and the time we go to bed. Since I am a som and he works, I will not ask him to get up during the night unless he just wants to. I know most of you will probably not like that, but for now that is what we will do until he gets comfortable with daytime diaper changes. In a few days, on a night where he doesn't have to work the next day, I will ask him to get up and join us for the midnight diaper changes. I hope he will change and become a more active parent in our baby's life. To all of you who said I should leave because being a single mom is better than being a married single mom, I would rather be a married single mom who doesn't have to leave my baby with a stranger and go to work. At least this way he goes to work and makes money and I get to stay home with my baby. I will keep pushing him and working on him to make him a more active parent. I know we are too young to be having children, but I felt like I was more than ready. My oldest sister is special needs to the highest degree and has to wear diapers. So all my life I have been changing diapers. I have helped several family members with their babies from newborn to age 2 to 3, so I have helped raise several babies, around 6 babies, so I knew being a mom was all I've ever wanted. I was just waiting for him to be ready, and I thought he was, but I guess not. Thank you for reading this update and the original post. I appreciate all advice and help. I apologize for my shit show of a life lol. Final update. So it's been about a month. I've talked it over with him again and again. We've argued about it a few times, the most recent argument being a few days ago. He has watched me change a handful of diapers and I kept reminding him that he needs to do it and that he can start with pee diapers and eventually work his way to the gross, poopy diapers. I started small. When I would change her, I would get her all cleaned up, and when the only step left was putting on a clean diaper I would bring her to him with no diaper on, lay her on our bed, hand him the clean diaper and say, "Here, do it." Of course he complained, but I made him do it. After a few times of that, I brought it up again. That was when we had the most recent argument. We argued for a few minutes. He gave the same bullshit excuses about how it's gross and he doesn't want to do it, and I reminded him that being an adult and especially a parent means doing things you don't want to do sometimes. He feels like just because he goes to work he is exempt from housework and taking care of our baby. I reminded him that I can't do 100% of the baby care and 100% of the housework. If he expects me to do 100% of the housework, then we will be a team and he will help with baby care. If he refuses to help with baby, then he needs to help with the housework. The argument didn't end well and I gave him the cold shoulder and some attitude for a few days. I also completely stopped doing housework. Laundry was piling up. Sink full of dirty dishes. The house was a wreck. It was bothering me because I hate for it to look like that, but I knew I had to stand my ground. For a few days I did nothing but baby care. Then yesterday, he did a few loads of laundry because we barely had anything clean left. He finished eating his dinner before me. I asked him to take her so I could finish eating. He agreed and took her out of the room. A few minutes later he pokes his head in the room, holding a diaper and asks, "Is this the right diaper?" There were 2 different brands on the changing table and we had to size up recently because our little lady is a chonk, so I guess he got confused. I said yes and immediately followed him into the other room to observe the diaper change and give direction if needed. He did a decent job on his own without my help. I was pleasantly surprised that he did it without me asking or arguing. I started to say thank you but decided against it because it's not like he's doing me a favor. He is doing what a dad is supposed to do. So instead I gave him a fist bump and said good job. I asked him what made him decide to do it after all this time and he said he was tired of me being on his ass about it all the time. So I guess I will stay on his ass about it and make sure he continues on his path of improvement. Thank you all for all the advice and help you have given. I'm slightly happy with this recent improvement but wish it had come along way sooner. TLDR, after several arguments over the last month he finally changed a diaper for the first time yesterday. Stories number 19. Aita for not going to a friend's 25th birthday celebration after she left my wedding twice. A week ago I, 25F, married the love of my life, 24F, and we had a small ceremony with our families and close friends. For a little perspective, we had 8 guests plus the 2 brides. The ceremony was max 45 minutes and we only had the photographer for 2 hours. Everything was perfect. We had gone to a conservatory in the area and took pictures inside and out. 2 of our friends, Bailey, 24 and Deb, 25, engaged themselves, started to have their own photo shoot literally in front of us. I decided to cheer, "Yas goo Deb," to which she stopped posing and said, "Damn, that's so embarrassing." We finished couples shots and saw Bailey and Deb were nowhere to be seen. All of our families and other friends were very upset that the 2 of them left, but we just played it off like it was okay and that is just how they are. The bar after party was just our friends and we had rented an area for 2 hours, but the catch was we needed to hit a $200 bar tab minimum. Deb and Bailey show up late to the after party but seem happy to be there. They are talking to our other friends and Bailey stated to play games with us. Deb finds games embarrassing, and they are both drinking, not a requirement for fun but they love drinking. About a half hour into the after party Bailey asks us what we'd be doing Friday and to not make plans because it's Deb's birthday. We had been looking to go on a trip that weekend but it was not planned, so we said that we should be able to go. A few moments later Deb comes back from the bar and is complaining how drinks were so expensive. A special cocktail was $12 and a draft beer was $10. A while later my wife wanted to get food, so we went to go look at a food truck. As she saw there was nothing she'd eat and decided to get Cane's later, we see Bailey and Deb waving us down. Thinking they want food too, we tell them we aren't getting stuff here and they tell us that a mutual friend was bartending 20 minutes away, so they were going to see her but would meet us back at the house later. Keep in mind we live in a major city and this friend is a bartender and has been for over a year. When we got back in the bar, one of our other friends, Kay, asked where Deb and Bailey went because they told Kay that they'd be right back, so of course being confused we checked the tab and they had closed their tab. Everyone looked at it fine because we got to drink more and hang out longer with friends from out of town. We finished drinks around 11:30 p.m. only to get a text from Deb saying they aren't coming back to the house with everyone, they are going home. Well, my wife and I decided to go on our last-minute little honeymoon weekend, which so happened to overlap with Deb's birthday, so we weren't able to make it. After letting Deb and Bailey know we could go and why, they have basically ignored both of us and our texts. So are we assholes for not going to Deb's birthday after they left our wedding celebration not once but twice? Stories number 20. Aita for wanting to tell my husband's best friend everything. My 41F son, 19M, is having an affair with his dad's best friend's wife, Lisa, 37F. I found out when he left his phone on the kitchen counter and Lisa messaged him some explicit details. It was disgusting and vomit-inducing. She's known him since he was 9, how could he do this? Lisa also has a son of her own, how could she do this? I confronted my son, and he told me that he's an adult and can make his own choices, and that Lisa is feeling lonely and depressed in her marriage and he brightens up her day, and that she respects him in a way girls his own age don't. I have no clue what he means by that, but I told him that if he doesn't stop seeing her this moment, I'm going to tell Lisa's husband about it all. I went to my husband to tell him about everything, and he got mad at me. He told me that if I tell Lisa's husband everything, then his friendship with him would be absolutely ruined. He told me that our son is an adult and that I have no right to interfere in his life whatsoever. Stories number 21. Aita for refusing to let my friend crash at my place after he roasted my apartment in front of everyone. Alright, this might sound petty, but I feel like I was justified. I, 26M, have a small one-bedroom apartment. It's not fancy, but it's clean, it's mine, and I worked my ass off to afford it. Like, IKEA everything, but I got a gaming setup I love and a little fake plant that's absolutely thriving. Last weekend, I had a few friends over for pizza and chill. Nothing wild. My friend Kyle, 27M, who's been kinda couch surfing lately, shows up and immediately starts roasting my place. Like he walks in and goes, "Damn, bro, is this a studio or a jail cell?" Everyone laughs. I brush it off. Then he goes, "Yo, where's your dining table? You just eat off your lap like a raccoon." Again, laughs. I joke back like, "Better than eating off someone else's couch, man," and everyone laughs again. But he doesn't stop. He jokes about my sad little gamer chair, my bare fridge, and even says my bathroom looks like it's been through something traumatic. It was funny for like 5 seconds. Then it got annoying. Then it got rude. Fast forward to this week, he texts me saying he got kicked from the place he was staying and asks if he can crash on my couch for a few nights. I literally responded, "I thought my apartment was too sad for you, man." Now he's calling me petty. A few mutuals said I should have let it slide because he's going through a lot. I feel for him, but like, why would I let someone stay in a place they just spent an hour clowning? So yeah, Aita for not letting my buddy crash at my place after he roasted it in front of everyone. TLDR, friend made fun of my apartment all night during a hangout. A few days later, he asks if he can crash on my couch. I said no. Now he says I'm being petty. Aita. Notable comments. NTA the friends who think you should get over it can offer their places. Reply. Exactly. If they're so eager to play hostile manager, Kyle's got a whole group chat to crash with. I'll be here in my sad little gamer chair, not getting roasted. Another commenter. He's an idiot. Don't bite the hand that feeds. Reply. Yeah, next time I'll make sure to offer 5-star hotel service before getting roasted for not having a dining table. Update. A mutual sent it to him. Apparently the phrase, sad little gamer chair, really tipped him off. He texted me something like, "LMAO real mature bro, air out your feelings on Reddit," and then left the group chat we're in. So that's fun. One of the same friends who said I was being petty later texted me like, "Okay yeah, Kyle was out of line." Apparently Kyle's been doing this kinda stuff to other people too, cracking jokes that go too far and acting like it's always, just a bit. Which, yeah. Exactly. Bonus update, I picked up a folding table from this local guy who had 5 in his basement for some reason. It's ugly, but it does the job. If someone makes another raccoon comment, I'm flipping it dramatically. So yeah, still chilling in my apartment. Still got my IKEA shelves and my $9 fake plant that's somehow the healthiest thing in my life right now. Kyle's not staying here, but I hope he figures his stuff out. Just, not on my couch. Thanks again, Reddit. Y'all cracked me up and also made me feel way less crazy. Notable comments. Still gets me that the homeless couch surfer was roasting someone's apartment. Like what? Stories number 22. Aita for grabbing my newborn baby from my sill. I, 28F, had my son Kyson 4 months ago. At 22 weeks I was diagnosed with partial placenta previa and we were hoping and praying it would resolve, but at 28 weeks I was told I have complete placenta previa. This news hurt because I had a birth plan but my doctor still closely monitored it even though he made it clear that there might be less chance of resolving it and might have a C-section. At 35 weeks I had heavy bleeding so I delivered my beautiful baby boy through an emergency C-section. My son was in the NICU for 2 weeks before we got to go home. 2 weeks ago there was a family party at my MIL's house. I was sitting in the ladies when Kai started crying. So I breastfed him while chatting. Nobody had a problem with that. After that I handed him to my SIL since she wanted to play with him. While he was holding him she said something. So they started talking about my SIL's labor and she said it was a breeze. Then I said, "Ah, that's nice, I hope to have a natural with my second someday." Then she said, "A natural birth needs preparation during the whole pregnancy." Then she went on to say, "You never worked out or got active much." So I told her it was because of the placenta previa situation. This woman literally said, "That's not an excuse though, I had rowed ligament pain and I still managed to keep active." I told her I was kept on bed rest half my pregnancy and had too many hospital visits so I didn't want to do anything to risk putting myself in danger. Then she said, "Your body can feels the nerves and it reads accordingly, you should have relaxed and let nature take its course. That's how natural births work, the C-section was avoidable." I told her to F herself and took my baby out her arms and went to my hubby. We left after. Apparently she told anyone who asked where I am got sensitive and left the party. After a few days she asked to see Kaisen and I said I'm not comfortable being around her at the moment. She accused me of weaponizing my son and using him to hurt her. Note, whole pregnancy she kept on giving unsolicited advice on how to fix the placenta previa, and I feel like she thinks if I had listened to her I would have had Kaisen naturally. I felt sad for a few weeks after birth cause my birth plan didn't go how I wanted it to. These feelings just feel like they resurfaced tbh. I thought I was okay. Aita for grabbing him and not agreeing to visit her. Update, Aita for grabbing my newborn baby from my sill. I made my post hours ago and I am so overwhelmed at the amount of support and kindness I have gotten from everyone in the comments. So when I told my husband about what he did, I didn't like his reaction. I told him exactly what happens and he said, I don't want to interfere in women arguments, babe. I then told him that he can at least ask his sister to be sensitive about my experience, and he said, why don't you talk to my mom about it so she sits you two down and have a mature discussion. My husband knows Sil is the apple of my MIL's eye, so she would side with her. There has never been a need for my MIL to pick sides, but if there ever was we all know who he would. I told him that I would feel more comfortable if he is there. But he said it's a birth thing so women should discuss it. I mentioned in a comment on the original post that my hubby suggested therapy. He feels like the only reason I was offended by Sil is because I have not gotten over the fact that I had an emergency C-section. I mean he is right, but I just really want him to talk to his sister. Is that so wrong? I want his support and for him to make things clear to her. If you are wondering whether I have support system like family, then no, I don't. My parents are in a different country and I live in my husband's home country. I do have a few friends. That is why I appreciate all your kind comments, they mean a lot to me really. Update, Aita for grabbing my newborn baby from my sill. Hey everyone, first off I would like to thank you all for the support I got on my 2 other posts. The love and support you gave me was more than appreciated and it gave me the courage to do what I did today. I saw some comments saying I named my son Tragedy, my husband, and I agreed that I would pick the first name and he would pick the middle name so we both get to name him. If you don't like the name then I don't know how to help you with that. Besides I did not want his first name on the post so I used his other name Kaisen. I now realized that I could have just used a fake name. Today a lot happened. I talked to my SIL and MIL and I also talked to my husband. It went terrible actually, that is an understatement to what happened today. My talk with SIL and MIL took place at my Mills house at around 10 a.m. I got there and they were already there. I expected my hubby to have gone with me but he didn't. My SIL got to the point and asked me why I was so upset at her. I reminded her all that she said to me and she said, was I wrong though? You are just offended that I spoke the truth. I remembered all the advice I got from your comments and I told her what I had learned about placenta previa and her misinformation. I also told her about the difference between round ligament pain and placenta previa and what I went through. She rolled her eyes and said that's what doctors want to do so they make money off of C-sections. My MIL the whole time sat there defending her and saying I shouldn't take it to heart while SIL still stood on all she said. SIL called me incompetent and sensitive so I said some colorful words and was walking out. BTW I was baby wearing. She grabbed my arm and pulled me telling me she isn't done talking and that I am walking away with her nephew. I told her to let me go or I'll get her arrested for handling me in that manner so she let go. I told them when they are ready to behave like adults then they will see Kaisen. I was so scared of standing up for myself but I did it, my hands were shaking lol. I got home and hubby wasn't there so I got Kai to take a nap and called my dad. I spilled everything to him and he was furious. He told me to either move out or fly back home. I told him I have to talk to hubby first and I will tell them how things go. When hubby got home later in the afternoon I was breastfeeding. He came into the living room and asked how the meeting went. I could tell he had a sour mood. I told him it went bad and he told me, oh I know. He told me that his mother is so hurt by my disrespect. I told him how they behaved and he told me that I am trying to say his mother is a liar. So basically his mom called and told him I was screaming and shouting at them. She told him I was hysterical and even rattled Kai up. SIL backed MIL up so it was like a tag team. I explained what actually happened and he said all this drama wouldn't be happening if I didn't overreact to a few comments made at the party. I was shocked. I told him I thought he was supposed to defend me and he said he can't ruin the relationship with his family because of my insecurities. I told him that I will leave with my son and go to people who actually care about me and that my dad will book my flight. I walked away with Kaisen and he grabbed my arm and said his son goes nowhere. He told me he was tired of my continuous complaints about his family. He said if I was still hurt by those comments then maybe I'm the problem and need to look into fixing it. He brought up a few memories I don't want to mention but just past experiences with his family. At this point it was getting loud and Kai was crying so I told hubby to relax. He didn't. Let's just say the living room wall understood he was angry. So I told him I want to go somewhere I feel safe. I left with Kai and we are currently in a hotel. I want to move to another city, and start life fresh there. I can request for a transfer. My husband expresses himself audibly when angry, so what happened after that was so unusual and a shock. He has called me asking me to come home and that he was just frustrated. He know this account and he know about the posts, so he saw the comments that I got. He sent a message about how I let strangers love the internet get into my head and convince me against my family. He said he felt torn between supporting his sister and supporting me, and I can't blame him for not knowing which side to take. I told him I don't want Kai to grow up in such an environment and stopped replying. I don't know if I was dramatic or I did too much. I still don't understand why he got so angry and why he reacted that way. I also want to know why his mom and sister lied to him. I don't know, there's a lot of uncertainty right now, but Kai and I are safe. I will talk to a lawyer about the next steps to take. I feel at peace. I have gone through so much in my 5 years of marriage. I now want to raise my son in a healthy environment. Thank you for all the support, really. Stories number 23. AIO for wanting to uninvite this guy to a bachelor party because of his behavior. A close friend asked me to be a groomsman for his wedding, and I was honored to say yes. Since January, the best man and I have been planning the bachelor party. Because the groom has struggled with cocaine in the past and is now clean, we were careful about who we invited. We excluded some old friends still involved with drugs to avoid temptation and out of respect for the groom and his fiancée. We did include one old friend, let's call him Tom, who still uses, but made it very clear that there would be zero tolerance for drug use at the party. He agreed completely. By March, we'd planned the events: golf, go-karts, bowling, and a night out with a party bus. One friend generously covered a luxury suite, $1,500, and another covered the party bus, $1,500. The remaining 10 of us, excluding the groom and the 2 who paid for the big items, were asked to contribute $300 each into a party fund to cover everything else: activities, drinks, food, and a group wedding gift or refunds of leftover money. I kept everything transparent with an anonymous tracking sheet. Everyone was on board. One person couldn't afford it, and another covered his share. Most people paid early. I only had to remind a couple of people, and they paid quickly. The only exception was Tom. Even though he was one of the first to agree to the plan, when I followed up with him 2 weeks ago, he acted strangely. I let him know we were collecting money and he still hadn't sent his. He replied with, "I'll send you your money, relax." I calmly gave him the details and said we needed final numbers by the Friday before the party. That Friday came, and still no payment. I checked in with another friend, who advised I just tell Tom that if he wasn't contributing, he'd have to pay for his own stuff. I passed that message along. In return, I got called a fuck face and a bachelor party Nazi. I want to stress, I only reached out twice, politely. Meanwhile, everyone else has been cooperative, thankful, and respectful. We've worked hard to make this a great, low-stress weekend, and being insulted like that makes me wonder if we should even have Tom come at all. TLDR, guy agreed to contribute to a bachelor party we were organizing, proceeds to be difficult and send extremely disrespectful replies, which makes me want to uninvite him. Me, hey there dude, how's it going? Me, I know you said you wanted to contribute the fund and we are a week away. Is that still something you want to do, or do you want to just pay for what you take? Makes it a lot harder for us, but it's your choice. Tom, hey fuck face. I'm going to send you the money now so you can get off my back. Tom, bachelor party Nazi. End of the transcript. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, nah, screw him. He can miss out. Reply, I want so badly to just tell him to kick rocks. It's now going to be a weird passive-aggressive weekend with him around. I've spoken to a couple of other dudes who are coming about this and they said they have my back if he decides to be a dick. Commenter 2, why on earth would he insult you? It's not like you're close friends. Extreme red flag. He's a crazy asshole on cocaine, just exclude him. If you don't, he will likely do stupid shit when the party comes. Reply, I'll mention this to the best man. We are fully prepared to kick him out of the party if he decided to be a douchebag. Commenter 3, I wouldn't blame you, although maybe it's something to discuss with the groom privately. Let him know your concerns, especially considering Tom's past as well as his current attitude. Reply, it's a total surprise for the groom so I can't talk him, but I'm in talks with the best man. Commenter 4, wow. Tell him he doesn't need to go any longer. He's not welcome. That was extremely rude and uncalled for verbiage. You did everything correctly and he insulted you for just trying to keep everything organized. Nor. Reply, that's a really good way of putting it. Thanks for the advice. Commenter 5, you're overthinking this. No need to uninvite the guy, he hasn't paid, so he clearly doesn't have the money and or doesn't want to attend. Remove him from the group chat and stop communicating with him. Tell the groom that Tom was acting oddly. You'll be doing him a favor and saving everyone the hassle of covering Tom's share or having the party ruined by him showing up wasted and belligerent. Reply, he did finally pay, I may just send his money back. Why don't OOP talk with the groom to get his thoughts on Tom? Reply, it's a surprise for the groom. OOP explains the timeline of contributing with Tom for the groom's bachelor's party. Reply, 10:00 p.m. his time, and that was the date of the cutoff. I initially texted him at 1 p.m. his time. He lives 3 hours behind me. Update to the bachelor party altercation. For those of you hoping for more drama, I'm sad to say there isn't any. For those of you who are happy to see an amicable outcome, this will be right up your alley. Thank you all for your support and kind advice. With your help I was able to make a decision that resulted in a positive outcome. I have high hopes that this will be the end of it. Hey, Tom, I wanted to reach out before the party to clear the air. I really appreciate you sending your part of the money, but I was honestly taken aback by the messages you sent when you did. I know chasing people for money isn't fun, and it wasn't my intention to nag or annoy, just trying to make sure everything's squared away for the Devon. I'd like us to be able to enjoy the weekend without tension or bad vibes. If there's something I did that rubbed you the wrong way, I'm open to hearing it, but I also want to be upfront that I felt disrespected by the name calling. Let me know if you're up for talking it out or if we can just agree to move forward on good terms so that we can have a good time at the party. I don't think there's any reason for any animosity between us, at least for sake. We are going to be spending almost an entire day in close proximity and I'm sure we will both be drinking, and the last thing I want is for there to be any kind of tension in the air that might cause an altercation. Tom, it was childish of me. Tom, I won't cause an altercation. Alright man, thanks for saying that. I appreciate the sentiment. Is there anything I can do to help smooth things over? Tom, no. But I'm sorry for my outburst. OOP, it's no problem man, I'm glad we could work it out this easily. Let's have a good time together, I'm looking forward to catching up. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, a genuine apology, responsibility taken for actions, and a drama-free amicable resolution. Sir, this is Reddit. Kindly remove your post and never darken our door again. Reply, LMAO. So true hahaha. Commenter 2, you asked him if everything would be cool, he said it would and apologized. I say let him go. Reply, that's the plan. I shared the messages with the other guys planning so they know what to watch out for too. Is OOP closer with Tom? Reply, I hardly know the guy, haven't spoken to him in years. The guest list was collected by the best man, we are not very close at all. This was way out of line, pretty sure that's why he backpedaled and apologized. Commenter 3, another update after the party please. Reply, you got it, it's next Saturday. Set a reminder. Edit, sorry I meant this Saturday. Commenter 4, holy shit, that's a mature AF message on their part. Glad to see some dudes still have the balls to admit when they mess up. Good on you OP for being straight up as well. Stories number 24. Fire me for driving too fast at 15 km per hour then tell me to drive back the district office. You got it boss. TL, DR fired by raging boss, MC extra $300, show up a week later in different job and new boss keeps me in old boss's face after finding out why. Gonna be kinda long one, but I have an MC and a pro revenge in one. A friend reminded me of this when talking about all the forest fires burning in Canada right now. In the late 80s I got a job with the Ministry of Natural Resources driving to support fighting forest fires. Great job, just over double minimum wage, major bonus at 19, and they had no limit to the number of hours you could work. Fire season started early and by mid-May I was supporting one that was, I think, long time ago, 300 to 400 hectares and growing quickly, 1 hectare equals 2.5 acres. Back then I think the whole district was around 100,000 square km, think all of Indiana, so there was a lot of driving. One day I get to the on-site HQ and get told to wait while they found me a return load. Little later I am told to go to the helicopter staging area to pick up the fire boss, FB. To preface, the road was shit, I pick him and a few others up and make my way back. Halfway there I hit a deep pothole and the FB just loses it. Starts bellowing about goddamned kid speeding, no respect etc. For the 5 minutes it takes to get back. I found out on the way there that going too fast was not a good deal, so made sure to not go faster than 15 km per hour, 9 miles per hour. As soon as we get to base camp slams his way out of the truck and screams, "You're fired. Get back to district and have them process you." Okay, fuck you very much sir. We were deep in the bush. I don't know how deep but it took me close to 7 hours to get there. Cue malicious compliance. I grabbed 2 20L gas cans, 5 gallons, and set off. Real slow. If 15 kilometers per hour was too fast for these roads, then the proper speed was obviously however fast the truck went at idle, unless there was a hill. I wasn't a monster. It took 22 hours to reach the first paved road, and then I set the cruise control 5 kilometers per hour below the limit and went to get fired. Extra $300-ish me. I process out and I meet one of the guys, call him Crew Boss CB, who taught the level 1 forest firefighter course I took before I got hired to drive. We got along well, but there were only 2 new full-time hires that year and none on his crew. He had just come with one of his guys who broke his leg and was going to personnel to find someone new. I was quickly hired on as his fourth. 2 hours later I'm being driven to meet his crew at a fire. Couple says later that fire is declared out and we are off to a new fire. Yup. The fire I was fired from. Kinda revenge-ish, but it get better. Q Pro Revenge. CB it turns out is besties with FB, so FB has our crew as the initial response crew. This meant that we spent a lot of time riding in the helicopter with FB and responding to jump fires that would take minimal time to deal with. It took a week before he recognized me and I watched out the corner of my eye, something I thought was only in books or said as an exaggeration. This guy went from pink to red to actually turning purple. I couldn't hear what was being said, but I see the skittle flowing out as he yelled into headset, and I got some major side-eye from CB for the rest of the flight. When CB asked about it later and I explained, including the drive back, he almost passed himself. Turns out, surprise, FB has a long history of exploding over nothing and taking it out on the nearest poor bastard. He ended up firing 2 more guys over the same thing and likely the same pothole. So CB knew what he was like, but they got along really well. Turns out he also really liked poking the bear. For the rest of that fire CB made sure I was seated, so I was the first person he saw if he looked over his shoulder. On a later fire our crew got admin duties and CB was FB's number 2. I got to be as CB put his helper monkey and FB's jock itch. The rest of the crew knew, so there wasn't any friction and they got a kick out it. It was a great summer and I worked for CB 3 more summers through uni. Always went back with great stories, really nice money. I collected unemployment during school, not sure if it was legal, but no one said anything, and pretty sure time has run out anyway, in amazing shape but with a really weird tan. Stories number 25. Tofu, made myself look like a douche, humiliated my wife, and likely humiliated a bunch of potential new parent friends. After all these years, finally I feel that today I have fucked sufficiently far up that I see no other option but to post to this fine sub. I sit here, about 12 hours post, still actively cringing about as hard as I ever have, and hoping that externalizing this may bring me some peace. To set the scene, my dear wife, 35F, and I, 34M, are currently attending antenatal classes, preparing for the arrival of our first child this summer. There are 7 other couples, all of similar age to us, and we have been looking forward to potentially making some new friends out of these classes who will have similar age children to us, and live nearby, in a very nice neighborhood. So far everything has been going great. There's good camaraderie between everyone. The guys lament hospital parking, the ladies compare aches, and all of us seem to get along and have good chats between couples and across the group in spare moments in the sessions. I am not a natural extrovert, and don't feel the most at home in groups like this, but I'm doing my best to seem like a real person and fit in. Naturally, in an unfamiliar social situation, like many others might, I'm cracking the occasional joke along the way, to break the ice, to keep the mood light, generally to grease the wheels of social interaction and portray myself as a fun, normal guy to be around. Halfway through today's class, there's some downtime between activities, we're all sat in a broad circle, and people are sharing funny conversations that have come up with people they know, when they have announced or mentioned their pregnancies. As usual, the tone is jovial and casual. People mentioning inappropriate or odd questions they get asked, others responding that they've had similar or worse asked. At one point one of the ladies who is sat near us says that someone once came up and asked her, "Oh wow, so was this an accident or on purpose?" and comments what a mad thing that is to ask when that person knew she was happily married. This gets a good response and a general chuckle around the room. This is where I step in. And by step in, I mean step into my whole mouth, with both feet. In my head, in the moment, I think, ho ho, yes, what a humorous situation, what an impertinent thing to say to someone who is clearly and happily married. So I think, yes, I will add to the conversation by suggesting something equally hilariously inappropriate someone might say in that situation. So in her wake, I pipe up, "Ha, yeah," or if they'd asked, "Oh, so is it her husband, S?" There was a slightly awkward titter in response to this. She responded, "Well, thankfully noon's gone quite so far." The topic of conversation swiftly but naturally moves on, and in my head I think, well, that didn't really land, but hey ho. A minute later, I get a text from my wife sat next to me, "Fucking hell, there was no need to make that joke, and I sit there for a moment. Yeah, thinking about it, the whole room did sort of awkwardly go quiet there for a moment. Yeah, that wasn't entirely clearly just a light-hearted contribution to the conversation. Now that I think about it, wow, that was an incredibly insensitive, inappropriate and dumb thing to say, especially to someone who is on this emotional roller coaster we call pregnancy. Wow, fuck, shit, I am a fucking moron. I am the world's stupidest idiot. I have made myself look like the biggest tool in the room, and likely everyone thinks I am an incredibly weird douchebag for that. Obviously no mention of it is made, but I spend the rest of the class, and the day, in a sort of haze of embarrassment. The cherry on top, earlier in the class, as an icebreaker, we had each been asked to name one attribute we would like the baby to pick up from our partner. My wife easily replied, with a smile on her face and looking lovingly at me, "I'd love if they got your wit and sense of humor." So there we are. I don't know if I should reach out to either the husband or wife at whom I directed this idiotic comment and apologize, or just leave it be, or just leave the country, or perhaps the entire solar system. TLDR, tried to make a fun add-on to someone else's light-hearted anecdote about inappropriate pregnancy-related questions, instead made a really crude, inappropriate and fairly offensive remark. Stories number 26. To fool by leaving my phone at work, and going in to get it after hours. Today I effed up. I decided to charge my phone at work, and I left. By the time I noticed I'd left my phone, the building was locked up and the alarm was set. But one of our front doors has a shitty lock. If you don't know how to lock it right, it will unlock itself with one jiggle of the door. Someone didn't lock it right. Tried the door once and saw the bar that connects it to the other door just plummet. Now the building is unlocked. So I go in, grab my phone and run up front to lock it correctly. By now the alarm system is going crazy and I don't have numbers for the alarm code because I am a lowly peasant. I head out the back, which is my only option if I want to leave the building more secure than I found it. That door locks behind me. My saving grace. Got home and texted my boss. He said he was aware that the building had been broken into. I told him everything because I wanted to get ahead of that train. We have cameras everywhere. I was on all cameras. Thankfully I'm not fired. I hope the person responsible for making sure the doors are locked isn't fired. Because it was locked, sort of. He's very new. He probably wasn't told that this particular door needs an extra bit of oomph to lock it correctly. Take note, this is at like 1:30 a.m. because it's a restaurant. Upper corporate is informed. The police were informed. I got in my car and left the property before police showed up, guns drawn. I should have just had a night with no phone. I should have remembered my phone. I shouldn't have found a known weakness in our security. Just go get my phone. I'm not fired. I feel bad. I really fucked up today. TLDR, I left my phone at work charging, realized after hours, remembered a possible way in, it was way easy, alarms went off, corporate upper folks involved, I'm not fired. I hope nobody else is fired. I have regrets. Stories number 27. AITA for replying to my BF's baby mama when she texted me, "I'm 25F dating 36M, let's call him John, who has a 5-year-old daughter with a 42F, let's call her Jane, who lives 5 states away from us." He moved to the state I live in after they broke up. We started dating a year after they broke up and we've been together for about 10 months and we moved in together couple months ago. John broke his phone, so he was using my old iPhone with his SIM card in it but my iCloud account. He MSGD Jane, nothing weird. He said good morning, he usually checks in on them every other day and I'm aware of it and we are good about it. The message actually sent with my iCloud instead of his number. I was at work and she replied saying, "Who is this?" I was in the middle of my busy shift. I just assumed it was one of the girls I work with because I recently MSGD one of them asking for shift coverage, so I just replied saying it's me, my name. And there was no reply, so I checked again and noticed the message John sent on top, "Me and BM have never spoken or met before this text." I replied and said, "Sorry, I think John meant to message you but it was sent from my iCloud." And she replies and says, "Are you his GF? Do you live together?" He told me he doesn't have a GF. I was a bit surprised with the bunch of QS. I didn't want to reply anymore. But I was feeling a little upset that he didn't tell her I existed. So I said yes and we live together. Jane replies, "Has he told you he loves you? Have you met his family? How long have you been dating?" So ATP, I'm like, okay, she is weird, why is she asking me these? The audacity. So I don't reply. Jane MSGS me again and says, "Because he lives with you he doesn't want to call his daughter because he doesn't want me to know he's dating you." I told her it's not a secret he has a daughter with you and I've been there when he's called you guys, so. But I respect whatever choices he makes for this part of his life, so I don't want to overstep. And just let him be, he'll introduce me whenever he's ready. She replies and says I respect that. I don't reply. She MSGS again, does he tell you that he's moving back here? I replied and said he has only told me he's sad to be so far and wants to see his daughter grow up. Jane replied, if you make him happy and respect my daughter I'm fine with everything. I don't reply. She MSGS again, he lies to me to make himself look good. That's what he does. I don't reply. Next day she MSGS me, do you know if John got a bus ticket to come back to, state? I don't reply. She MSGS again couple hours later and all of a sudden it's like rude tone, you can have John. Keep him there and make more babies he doesn't take care of. Good luck. He said you guys were just roommate not dating. I don't reply. She sends a screenshot of John messaging her saying he misses them and misses her. I don't reply. Through all of this, me and John are open about these MSGS from her. He tells me, I told you she's crazy. Why did you have to reply to her when you knew I was the one who MSG'd her? I said I didn't realize it. I was at work busy, assumed it was one of the girls I work with. He's mad. That night, I finally sent her a reply and I said, you're probably hurting right now and I'm so sorry things are this way. What you want me to say to these things you are telling me and the screenshot of his MSGS to you. Sometimes life just doesn't work out the way we want it to. I'm sorry we got to know each other under these circumstances. I'm sure you are a nice person and I respect you. Side note, I wasn't that upset with the stuff she sent because my BF has been faithful and so supportive to me. I kind of wanted to hear him out first, as I trust his words over hers. The screenshot didn't upset me because I felt it was valid for him to miss them. He was once there and had a family and now he's far and I believe he can love me and miss them at the same time. Anyway, my last message to her made her furious but she gave my BF so much shit that he was stressing and got mad at me for getting involved and messaging her. I stated I remained respectful and that he was the one using my phone to message her to begin with. I just replied to the message that was sent to me. John made me feel like an asshole and said I've ruined his chances to have a connection with his daughter because the BM told him that they won't answer his calls, they'll call him when they want to. And it made me so sad for him but I don't know was I the asshole. Stories number 28. Am I overreacting? MIL and Phil ruin our wedding for my husband. My husband, 23M, and I, 21F, got married almost a month ago. I really thought the day was nearly perfect but my husband's mom and dad left early and we both could tell they were upset. They didn't really communicate with us right after the wedding or during our honeymoon. I could tell this was very upsetting for my husband. He is an only child and feels at times he is the only source of joy for his father. After the honeymoon my husband tried to call his dad a few times and was still somewhat talking to his mom. We called more of his family to make sure they had a good time and were doing well. Everyone said they had a great time and that it was a beautiful wedding. His aunt hinted that at the hotel after the wedding that Fael had a blow up. Finally my husband talked to MIL. She said that I made no effort to see his family, that I spent the whole time with my family, I was unwelcoming to his aunt, etc. They also implied that I wear the pants and that my husband spent the night following me like a puppy. She did apologize when my husband expressed how their reactions impacted his enjoyment of the night and our honeymoon. But still nothing from Fael. We spent most of the night after first dances cake cutting, and speeches out on the dance floor with the crowd. I didn't only spend time with my family. I spent my time dancing with everyone who participated. MIL and FIL barely left their chairs. We sat down at a table with them for like a minute but I got up to go dance when a song I liked came on. I admit that was probably rude of me to do. Anyway, I don't know how to proceed with a relationship with MIL and FIL. To me, I feel that they are being incredibly selfish and making our day about them. They complain about the time we didn't spend with them but they arrived to town the day before the wedding and left early in the AM the day after the wedding which gave us almost no opportunity to see them. I don't know what they expected us to do. I haven't been to many weddings but I feel like the bride and groom are mostly participating in the party. My husband has not been able to talk to his dad. He has had very dry conversations with MIL after the confrontation phone call. She really isn't the problem, it is mostly FIL. He is mentally ill and very emotionally unstable. In the past he has really struggled with big life events that involved my husband and I. There was another blow-up when we bought our house. My husband believes that he just can't accept that he is a grown man and can live his own life 5 hours away from MIL and FIL. I believe that they will never really accept me and will blame me for him not moving back home. That no matter what I will always be the problem. I feel like we should proceed with no contact until we receive sincere apologies. To me, his parents are turning our big day to be about them. They are being extremely selfish, and his father is being very childish. I believe that the day is about us, and as long as we enjoyed the wedding, that is most important, and his parents should be happy. My husband believes that Phil will never apologize, as he will never think he did anything wrong. My husband is a great son, and I know he can move on from this without ever getting an apology, but I don't think I can. I will never be able to act like this is fine to me, but am I overreacting? Update: MIL and FIL ruin our wedding for my husband. I posted a few days ago about my MIL and FIL reaction to our wedding. They left early, pouted, and gave us the silent treatment. They were upset that we didn't spend more time with them at the wedding. My husband decided to send a long message to MIL. To summarize, he expressed how for the past 2 years he often feels hurt by his parents. He has breakdowns after almost every visit with them because they make feel like he is neglecting them. He tries very hard to visit and talk to them despite our busy lives. He has let his mood be dictated by others for a long time, and he is going to work on changing that. Every day he feels anxiety and guilt over being present in his family, and it is tearing him apart. MIL left him on read. The next night she still hadn't responded, so he messaged MIL again. This time a little more tough love. So I'm going to try this again, since I can't get a reply when I try to put my feelings out there the nice way. You guys really hurt us by making the biggest day of our lives about you and making me feel guilty about wanting to be with my wife on my wedding day. The way you handle these issues by ignoring me and pouting has me at my wit's end, and I will not tolerate it anymore. I have tried relentlessly to live up to your unrealistic expectations, but won't be doing so any further unless there's some serious changes to this bullshit idea that I have been a neglectful son. I am much more present than most adult children who live far away are, and believe me, I've asked all the old ladies whose kids live much closer. My moods will no longer be controlled by pouting, and I won't roll over when you guys don't get your way. Every single person besides the two of you had a wonderful time at our wedding, and your unrealistic expectations and reactions to them caused the day to suck and half my honeymoon to suck. I don't plan on reaching out any further unless there are serious changes to the way you guys view my role in this family. Here is MIL response: I am sorry you have been feeling bad. Understand that me and Dad miss out on almost all holidays with you, and everyday living. You can't take your grandparents out to lunch as part of your everyday. OP has her family there for most of those things. We did not go house shopping with you or wedding planning. You should have invited more of your family to the wedding. You have other family members to invite, the ones you have spent all your holidays with growing up, whose events we also have been invited to. The two of you should have come over to see what few of your family were there. You definitely should have taken the time out to come see your grandparents. I feel you must have conveyed to OP that your parents/family isn't that important to you early on. You are welcome to come visit next week, but I doubt it would be a good visit if you would rather not. We will always love you though, so we will be distancing ourselves and not reaching out. Stories number 29. I, 32F, caught my husband, 36M, cheating last night. He was texting his lover. We've been married for over 11 years, we have a 5-year-old together. I'm an absolute wreck. I'm a stay-at-home mom, I take care of everything, and he goes to work. His job pays well so he can provide us with a good life, but he said he has feelings for this woman and he's not ready to let everything go. He wants us to stay married and live the nice life we always had. He doesn't like the idea of a divorce for lots of reasons, first of all our son. I literally had no idea. It was fate that I caught him. He's probably been extremely cautious about it with his dating. We had a good life together, some arguments here and there, but still having sex regularly and acting like a family. I asked him to cut ties with his person, but he says he can't because he doesn't want to hurt her. This pisses me off so much. I even talked about couple counseling, which he agreed to. Still he can't let her go and he wants her as a friend. I'm still shocked. I don't know what to do, what to think, what to say. We discussed about divorce, which it wouldn't be imminent since I'd have to first get an associate degree and a job that pays decent, then selling the house, etc. I literally thought we were a good team and we were working well together. I'm sure he doesn't want a divorce even for keeping up appearances when it comes to his parents and job. I haven't been able to eat anything since last night that I found out. He says he still loves and I'm still his priority and he doesn't want to leave me. I'm feeling sick to my stomach. How does someone live after something like this? Stories number 30. AIO My mom wants me to postpone my wedding a year cause it's her birthday year. I have been planning and discussing my wedding for several months now. We have several site viewing and dress try-ons planned this coming month and are pretty set on the date being August of 2026. My great-grandfather is a minister, and while neither of us are religious, he has the ability to officiate a ceremony. Recently he's had health issues and we don't know how long he's going to hold on. Initially my mother wanted me to wait until 2027 or 2028, but he recently had another mini-stroke and we're counting every new moment with him as lucky. I don't think waiting that long is a good idea since I really want him to be there. Even if he isn't mentally well enough to officiate, at least to be at the ceremony. My mom understood this. Until the middle of the night last night where she texts me saying that she thinks we should wait a year because she's turning 50 next February. Keep in mind we intend to have the wedding in August. And she said, it's my 50th birthday next year and I have a number of things I want to do as a family and with you and Nana and some other friends etc. as in trips etc. Some of the things will be over the course of the year. In a perfect world I'd like to have a year where we just focus on the wedding and not have any competing things. I don't want a whole year dedicated to expecting and celebrating my wedding. I don't take it that seriously. I just want to be married to the man I love with my great-grandfather there to see it. And I really don't know how her having her 50th birthday is that much of an intervention. This just makes me feel really annoyed and I don't know if I'm overreacting. Stories number 31. I saw my attacker on a true crime series. Way back in 2001, I was grabbed from behind when walking down a main street at night. The man carried me kicking and screaming for quite a distance, but the panic really kicked in when I realized that he was taking me to a secluded park. I fought back in any way I could. I was throwing elbows, kicking at his knees, and trying to headbutt him. The second he loosened his grip on my mouth, I bit him and yelled at the top of my lungs. He managed to pin me down and practically fell on me. I was instantly winded, but I kept moving in any way possible. I bit him every time he put his hands near my mouth. He tried to choke me, but I got lucky when I managed to elbow him in the throat. I managed to roll him off me and get to my feet, but he tripped me by grabbing my ankle. I kept kicking at him and screaming and I think he decided it was more trouble than it was worth. He let go and ran away while I stood there shouting at him. I don't know how long it took me to come to my senses but, once I realized I was still in danger, I ran in the opposite direction. The weird thing is that I was never really scared, I was just angry. Really angry. My first and only emotional response was blood boiling, blackout rage. As soon as I was safe, I reported the incident to the police. I did hours of statements, ID sketches, and DNA swabs. My clothes were collected as evidence. It came to light that there was no usable DNA evidence or witnesses. Police canvassed the area and many people reported hearing an argument, but hadn't realized I was being attacked. Apparently, I never actually thought to call for help, I just threatened and hurled abuse at my attacker. I listened as a policeman read out a witness statement that was essentially 10 straight minutes of profanities and death threats. Less than 2 weeks after this, a girl at my school went missing. She had been murdered, her body thrown in a dumpster and later recovered from a rubbish tip. I didn't know her, but the news did make me realize how lucky I had been. It wasn't until 2003 that her killer was named in the media, and it was the same man who attacked me. And she wasn't the first woman he murdered. I contacted the police, but was counseled that it would be an uphill battle to get a conviction. He was later sentenced to life in prison with a special, no-release order. Once again, I moved on with life and honestly haven't given it any more thought. I was never traumatized by the incident and it hasn't impacted my life in any discernible way. But tonight, 24 years later, I was mindlessly binge-watching Inside the Mind of a Serial Killer, and, boom. There he is. I saw him looking exactly as he did all those years ago. It was weirdly jarring and brought the memory of that night back for the first time in many, many years. And somehow, I feel like I'm only now realizing just how lucky I was. Seeing the timeline of his crimes and what he did to those other women really hit home for me. He successfully raped another woman just a few days after assaulting me. He let her live because she pretended to enjoy it, the complete opposite of my reaction. And now I'm thinking about the random series of events that led to me being here today. My reaction was wholly instinct, I didn't think anything through. I was operating on pure rage and adrenaline. Yet here I am. But what if I hadn't bitten him? What if I hadn't managed to elbow him in the throat? What if I'd screamed for help instead of hurling abuse? It's left me with a lot of questions and some big feelings that I needed to get off my chest. I posted this somewhere else, then deleted it, then decided to post it again. I think I just need to get the poison out so I can finally go to sleep. So, if you've read this far, thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Update, thank you to everyone for the messages of support and kindness. It really helped and I'm touched that so many people took the time to respond. I'm just letting you know that I'm muting the thread, so please don't take it personally if I don't respond. Thanks to everyone for hearing me out and letting me release the emotional steam valve. It was exactly what I needed. It was a bit dizzying to revisit things after so long, but I gave myself 24 hours to sit with my feelings and process a few things. Now it's time to move on and get back to business as usual. Stories number 32. I want it exactly like the picture. I work at a cafe that served these beautiful custom sandwiches, artisan bread, colorful veggies, gourmet spreads. Most customers appreciated the flexibility, but there's always that one person. A woman came in one afternoon, pointed at a photo on our overhead menu, clearly a stock image, overly styled, and barely representative of what we actually served, and said, "I want that sandwich. Exactly like the picture. I don't care what's in it, I want it to look exactly the same." I explained that the photo was a marketing image and the bread we use might not be the same, the fillings might be seasonal and we typically make sandwiches to order. But she cut me off, "Don't argue. Just make it look like the photo." I pulled up the photo. I zoomed in on it. I made sure the sandwich was cut at the same 45-degree angle. I even counted the spinach leaves and used tweezers to place a single olive just like in the corner of the pic. Oh, and I left it cold and barely assembled, just like the prop sandwich clearly was. It was more set dressing than food. She got it. She was quiet for a moment. Then she asked, "Can you remake this? It's kind of not right." I smiled. "But it looks exactly like the picture." She apologized and ate it without another word. Next time she came, she ordered like every other person. Stories number 33. AIO 27F for walking out on my boyfriend after finding out what he was hiding. I've been with my boyfriend, 29M, for 3 years. Things have been mostly good, but lately he's been acting a bit distant and glued to his phone all the time. Every time I asked, he blamed work stress and said I was overthinking. Last night, after dinner together, he went to the bathroom and his phone buzzed. I usually never check his stuff, but the screen lit up and I saw a message from a girl with a heart emoji next to her name. I didn't open the conversation, just saw the name and emoji. When he came out, I calmly asked who she was. He said she was just a coworker, and they only talked about work. I didn't really believe him and asked if I could see the conversation. He refused, saying he deserves privacy. That honestly set me off. I told him I couldn't deal with the secrecy and that I was going to stay at my sister's for the night. I grabbed my things and left. Now he keeps calling and texting saying I'm overreacting, it's just a misunderstanding, and that I shouldn't invade his privacy like that. Now I genuinely don't know if I overreacted or if he's just gaslighting me into thinking I'm the problem. AIO for walking out on him and refusing to talk until he tells me the truth. Am I overreacting? Stories number 34. My sister let her kid ruin Father's Day. For Father's Day I was hoping to be going to a restaurant with my family, but my sister, 26, decided to invite everyone over to her house for a takeout instead, which was disappointing, but I haven't seen my family in a while so I was kind of looking forward to it regardless. She also invited our grandmother for some reason, but anyway we all got there and she came in with the food, and legit as soon as everyone got there, her kid, too, started acting up. Her daughter has a weird attachment to my mother, as in she prefers her over my sister and will cry every time my mother leaves her, but she was asking to use the washroom so my sister went to take her, but my niece started hitting her and crying and saying she wants my mom instead, but she was occupied so my sister tried taking her again, but no, she started trying to push her away and crying even more. So my mom took her and she stopped crying. Then when we were eating, she purposely spilled her drink on the floor, and started throwing her food on the floor instead of eating it. And when it was on the floor she literally demanded my mother to pick it up. No exaggeration, she said, "Clean it now," to my mom. No please or anything, and of course this whole time my sister didn't do anything about it. And then she asked to use the washroom again, so she did that and then wouldn't come out when we were ready to give my dad his gifts, and if my sister went in she would start screaming. And she was just crying and screaming over every little thing, and she actually bit me, which she does quite a lot, and she was jumping on me over and over again after me telling her not to. I know you can say this is normal toddler behavior, but she does this stuff on purpose because she knows no one will punish her, because all she has to say is, "It was an accident," and my mom will say some shit like, "Ah, that's okay, don't worry about it," and my sister won't do anything at all. She's just never disciplined, and she knows she can get away with anything. And it just ruined my entire day having to listen to a child throwing a tantrum every 10 minutes. It's not pleasant for anyone to listen to, especially my dad. I feel bad for. Stories number 35. Aita for not letting my coworker borrow my charger even though her phone was dying. I, 25F, work in an office with mostly cool people, but there's one girl. Let's call her Lisa, who constantly borrows things and never gives them back unless you ask. And even when you ask, it's with that sigh like you're bothering her for wanting your own stuff. Anyway, last week, I brought in my phone charger, the long, good one, not the gas station kind, because I forgot to charge overnight. Around 2 p.m., Lisa strolls over and goes, "Hey, is your charger free? Mine's at home and I need to make a call later." Now, normally I'd say yes, but literally just 2 weeks ago she borrowed my charger and kept it for 3 days. I had to go chargerless at work and then finally walked over and asked for it back. She acted like I was being dramatic. So this time I said, "Actually, I kinda needed to keep my phone alive today." She got annoyed and said I was being selfish and that her phone was at 9%. I said, mine was at 7% 20 minutes ago, that's why I brought my charger. She gave me this look like I'd just kicked a puppy, rolled her eyes, and walked away. Now a couple of coworkers are saying it wouldn't have hurt me to let her use it, for just a bit, but I'm kind of tired of being the backup power bank for someone who doesn't return things unless she's hunted down like a side quest. Aita for saying no. TLDR, coworker wanted to borrow my charger. I said no because she always keeps stuff too long. She got mad. Was I being petty? Stories number 36. You will stock the shelves. Okay, but you won't like it. Some years ago, back in the last millennium, I earned some extra money stocking shelves in supermarkets. I wasn't working for the supermarkets themselves, but for a well-known chocolate brand, you know, the one with the violet cow. Usually, my job was simple: check in, look at the shelves, restock, tidy up, check expiration dates, and leave. Each store took maybe 1 to 2 hours, but there was this one store. The manager was never satisfied. He'd always inspect my work, find some bizarre issue, and make me do extra tasks. I didn't really mind, since I was paid by the hour. Above the chocolate shelves, there was a little space where we kept extra boxes to restock quickly without fetching the pallet from the warehouse every time. So, one day, I'm in that store doing my usual routine. I only needed about half the weekly pallet, no big deal. I prepped the rest to go back to the warehouse. Just as I was about to leave, the manager blocks my way. The warehouse is full. Nothing goes back. Fill everything into the shelves and put the rest on top. I paused. I had already filled the shelves. The top space wasn't exactly empty either. So I replied, politely, sorry, everything's already full. There's no more room. His answer, I don't care how, just do it. Cue malicious compliance. I filled the shelves. Every single one. Front to back, top to bottom. I stacked chocolate bars behind, on top of, and between other chocolate bars. It looked awful. Like a cocoa avalanche waiting to happen. Then I got my work signed off, smiled, and left. About 30 minutes later, I got a call. Apparently, it is possible to exceed the weight limit of supermarket shelves, with chocolate bars. Something bent. Everything spilled onto the floor. The manager was furious, but sadly I was already working in another store. So tragic. Stories number 37. No payout on PTO, no exceptions. I'm sitting at home now wondering if they will figure this out. I have 81 hours of PTO on the books. On Fridays I teach a class on first aid and CPR. I'm the only one who is trained and certified to teach this class for the company I worked for. On a Friday, after teaching the class I'd left work with only an hour left in my day. I went to the hospital and found out, I suffered a heart attack. I'm back at work on Tuesday morning as I only work Tuesday through Friday. I was reading the PTO policy and noticed if you voluntarily terminate your employment with the company you'll lose your PTO. No chance of a cash-in or buyout. Being the guy who follows the rules, I put in for 80 hours of PTO to recover from my heart attack. My boss was super upset about the amount of time I'll be off because I will not be there to cover his vacation. I went to HR and filed this as FMLA medical requirement before telling my boss. During my time off I've been bombarded with numerous telephone calls, asking me why I'm not answering my emails. I told my boss I get paid to read emails and I am on PTO, so please let me rest and recuperate and I'll see you when I get back. An old colleague of mine reached out and asked me if I would like to come teach at their corporation. The pay is about 35% more than what I'm currently making and I really liked working for this individual. I filled out an application and when they asked for the start date, I gave the date as 2 days after my PTO ends. Today is my last day of PTO. In the morning I'll give them notice of my lady day of work, which will be end of business Sunday. Asked to work, Aita for caring about myself first before the company I work for. I know I will not give them a 2-week notice, as I've been with this company for 5 years, and have seen many people leave and get screwed over by this company with or without a 2-week notice. I only wish my co-workers well after my departure. Stories number 38. No professional photography. What's your definition of professional photography? This weekend at my 4-year-old's dance recital, I was told by event staff that professional photography wasn't allowed inside the theater, all because I pulled out my Z8 and Tamron 35-150. I had specifically chosen a seat on the aisle out of the way and just wanted something better than my iPhone. I asked the staff member what made it pro. They had no idea, just said the photographer hired by the dance studio had complained. I called him over and asked, is it the lens or the body that makes my setup professional? He said it was the body. I then asked, for future reference, would a less capable body be acceptable? He nodded yes. Without saying another word, I pulled out my ZF, swapped the lens, and kept shooting. The guy was clearly pissed and walked off. My wife, with perfect comedic timing, said, "Check and mate. If looks could kill." Stories number 39. Start 30 minutes later to save company money. Okay, at one of the factories I worked at, we had a shift overlap. Each shift was there for 8.5 hours, with a half-hour unpaid lunch. We had a half-hour on shift change to tell the incoming shift what was going on with the machines. A bean counter figured out how much money could be saved with this unnecessary half-hour handover time being cut. This also cut our workday to 7.5 paid hours. They told the lead men to coordinate the shift handover, even though there was too much information for one person to handle. Cue the malicious compliance. I strolled onto the production floor at my new assigned start time. Machines were all down. Operators wait for me, a setup operator, and the lead man to discuss what needed to be done. Instead of machines running continuously, they were shut down for at least a half hour. My lead man furiously asked me why I didn't come in earlier. I told him I don't work for free. Naturally, my approach to the new way spread to the other shifts, and suddenly people who always came in early decided they didn't want to work for free either. The factory production levels dropped. Upper management asked why. Several fingers were pointed at me for starting the rebellion, but nothing could be done to make us work for free. A week later, our hours were changed back. Stories number 40. Husband just found out he has another child. My husband, 41, and I, 41F, and I have been together for 17 years. He just found out, from the child, that he has a 19-year-old son. LSS, they both did 23andMe and discovered the connection. Mom was a one-night stand while my husband was working travel construction in the summer during college. She says they met at a bar and didn't exchange last names, so she did not know how to find him. We are both excited to meet his son and welcome him into our lives. However, my husband is heartbroken that he missed his son's entire childhood. He's an amazing father to our daughter and has always wanted more children. Any ideas on ways I can help him through these emotions? Stories number 41. Manager borrows my graduation gown and tries to keep it. I graduated with a PhD from a UK university many years ago. The graduation gowns, hoods, and hats are expensive to buy, almost £1,000 sterling for the three, so most people pay about £30 to £40 to rent them for a morning or afternoon. This gives people time for the ceremony and to take photos. A friend of mine owned a PhD gown, hood, and hat because he was planning on enrolling in a PhD, but he ended up not pursuing it. So he very kindly gave everything to me. I was over the moon. It meant I didn't need to pay the rental charge and I could potentially use them in future as a staff member to be part of other graduation ceremonies, which I have done over the years. I made the mistake of telling a manager of mine this story. Even though I worked at a different university by this point, my line manager was about to graduate from my old university with a PhD. She asked if she could borrow them, and even though I was uncomfortable, I said yes because I wanted to be in her good graces. She ended up keeping the gown, hood, and hat for 6 months. I must have asked her about 10 times to return them and every time was a different excuse. I'm getting more professional photos taken, I forgot, I have family coming in from out of town and I want them to see me in the robe, etc. The final straw came when she said that she should get to keep them because she'd worked hard to get her PhD. What? So did I, and I didn't fail mine the first time round and have to resubmit. Then she said since I got them for free, that it wasn't a big deal. In the end I had to make up a story about a friend who wanted to borrow them for an upcoming ceremony, and if they weren't in my hands by the end of the week, I'd be coming to her house with my husband and my friend to pick them up on the weekend. She did then return everything in good condition. If she hadn't been my manager, and a pretty bad and ineffectual one at that, I would have dealt with it differently, but my word, the entitlement of some people. No, actually you're not entitled to my property because you think you deserve it, aholo. Now no one gets to borrow them because I know I'll never have the money to replace them, or even justify replacing them, if something happens to them. Stories number 42. Deceased girlfriend's mother threatening to sue for equity in my home. My girlfriend and I were together for 7 years. She passed away 2 years ago. She lived with me for 5 of the 7 years we were together. I bought my home a year into our relationship. I was the only one on the mortgage and now I own the home. I came into full ownership of the home after she passed. My name is also the only one on all bills. My girlfriend did not pay rent. My girlfriend's mother has contacted me and has informed me that she intends to sue me for equity in the home, claiming that she has proof that my girlfriend invested in the home and that she paid to have renovations done to the house. We renovated one of the bathrooms and a bedroom and I paid all costs related to that. She did so via her family attorney, who I looked up and I don't believe works in this type of law. He appears to do wills and estate planning. She is saying I owe my girlfriend's estate $100,000. I have no idea where she could have even come up with this number. For what it is worth, my girlfriend's mother has never liked me and has been particularly vicious towards me, including an accusation that I was responsible for my girlfriend's death. She died of natural causes. I have not spoken to her since this outburst, which was shortly after my girlfriend's funeral. Her mother was the executor of my girlfriend's estate. My girlfriend's family, including her father and siblings, have always supported me and have denounced her. Basically, I am wondering if I need to worry about this and what questions I need to ask when I meet with an attorney on Monday. My name is on everything. I can't even find any receipts or anything that even has her name on it. This coming from an actual attorney does have me spooked a bit. I received this notice yesterday. Thanks for your time. Edit. By saying, come into ownership of the home, I mean to say I paid off the mortgage. Sorry for any confusion. Edit 2. Thank you to everyone who has answered my questions. To clarify some things, no, her name has never been on the deed to the house, and also no, we did not share bank accounts. I paid for everything out of my own accounts, the mortgage, the renovations, everything. She at no point contributed to these. Stories number 43. My roommate caught me doing something weird and it got even weirder, and now I probably have to move away, change my identity and start a new life. A few days ago, my new roommate ordered himself a pizza. He ate most of it, then got up and casually threw the rest of it in the trash and went to his bedroom. I couldn't fathom why anyone would want to throw away a perfectly good pizza. But then again, I am starting afresh and just moved into this place, so things are really tight for me, and that may have clouded my judgment. Without giving it too much thought, I went to the trash and took out the box, examined the 2 slices, then ate as quickly as I could. I didn't hear my roommate come out of his room, so you can imagine my shock when I saw him standing there staring at me while I was scarfing down his discarded pizza. It was really awkward. I panicked, quickly swallowed, then out of nowhere I found myself asking him, "Are you okay?" I don't even know why I said that. I cringed just thinking about it. He looked so confused and just nodded, then beelined it back to his room. I just finished the other slice because I felt like I might as well see it through. He has been avoiding me since then, understandably. Stories number 44. Don't ask questions. A new policy at work is we can't talk to coworkers in other departments, and we are not allowed to fix their mistakes. Math error? Nope. Typo? Nope. Can't open the attachment? Never. We have to go to our manager, who goes to their manager, who goes to the coworker, and then the process reverses. Oh, and we're all in different time zones. Some folks work in Hawaii, others in Beijing. Some managers' English is so bad, you can't understand them. 12 hours is the average time to get a math error corrected, like, the chart on page 6 is showing the result of 200 divided by 16 instead of 26. Please correct. Seriously, this was the nature of a 14-hour delay last week, and I was told it was close enough. Mind you, we do precision work. The managers told us to stop asking questions because it delays the project. Just go with your gut. If it's wrong, it's not going to come back on the team. Use the figures you're given. Sure, Jan. We had a big complex project and the documentation we received was absolute shit. I pointed out a specific problem in the document, something contradictory, and requested a meeting with someone in that department to discuss. During a team meeting, I was called out in front of my peers for asking needless questions. Okay, and fuck you. The manager decided to take a few days vacation right as we finished, and then prepared to start another urgent project. We had multiple questions that literally stalled the new project, but it never floated to the top of the punch bowl at this party. That's because the unthinkable happened. The big complex project was kicked back for doing the very question I raised in the meeting. Clearly, the team didn't understand, so why didn't you go over it? The documentation is not clear on this matter, and someone should have raised the issue instead of just bumbling ahead. It was beautiful to read the email chain chewing their asses out, knowing my boss wasn't there to conceal this epic fuck-up. The team knowing how bad management failed while also vindicating me is just icing on the cake. A couple coworkers reached out to me thanking me for forcing the issue in the meeting because this cannot come back on us. Higher-ups are pissed. The entire project had to be reworked, adding 2 days to that while the new project is stalled. Greg is due back from his vacation, and I have never been so excited to attend a Monday morning stand-up. I only hope he checked his email this weekend and it ruined his vacation. If only we were allowed to ask questions. Stories number 45. AIO when I call my dad and my nosy sister-in-law acts like his damn secretary asking, "Who is this?" or, "Can I tell him why you're calling?" I abruptly told her, "Just hand dad the damn phone." She knew very well who it was. Called my dad. Brother and his nosy wife are visiting. Sis-in-law answers. Instead of just handing dad the phone, she hits me with, "Can I tell him who's calling?" or, "Can I tell him why you're calling?" I snapped, "Give dad the damn phone." She turns and goes, "It's Pete." Like, yeah, no shit. She only does this to insert herself into the conversation. She knew damn well who it was and it's Father's Day. Pisses me off. I quit calling their house years ago because after handing the phone to my brother, she'd rush to pick up the other line to eavesdrop. Am I overreacting, or is this just straight up intrusive? Stories number 46. Aita for asking my wife to meet me at the hotel instead of picking her up from the airport. No a-holes here. My wife and I are traveling, but I arrived in the city a week earlier for work. I've been staying at an Airbnb, and once she gets here, we're moving into a hotel together for the rest of the trip. I haven't rented a car, so I've been using Uber to get around. When she told me her arrival time, I suggested she just take an Uber from the airport to the hotel instead of me coming to pick her up because it would mean I'd have to Uber to the airport, then Uber again to the hotel with her. It felt like an unnecessary loop. She also knows the city well. We actually lived here for a year a couple of years ago, so she's totally familiar with the airport and how to get around. I thought it made more logistical sense, but she was really upset when I suggested this. Aita for not picking her up from the airport. Edit. I've been on a bunch of business trips and she's never come to meet me at the airport when I got back, which I've been totally fine with, so I thought it wasn't a big deal to her, and had already scheduled a business meeting around her arrival time. Stories number 47. Aita for refusing to recover at home after surgery. I, 29F, am really disappointed with my husband, 30M, and furious at his mother, Hag-aged F. Sorry this is so long. And throwaway for privacy. For context, my husband is from the West Coast, where his mother still lives. He moved to the East Coast for college and that's where we met, after graduation. In the start of our relationship, she would visit 3 to 4 times a year and make him take PTO so he could entertain her throughout her visit. After 2 years of this, while we were still dating, I asked him how we are ever meant to go on a vacation together, if his PTO is spent at home with his visiting mother. We agreed to save PTO for a trip to Europe we took in 2023 and he agreed to tell his mother he couldn't take off from work every time she visited. In my last job, I was able to work from home 4 days a week and every time she visited, she sulked all day like a puppy who's had her toys taken away. But once my husband came home, a switch flicked and she was happy, and clingy, again. So here's the issue now. Husband and I moved states about 6 months ago, closer to my family. I have a new doctor who recommended me for a surgery that my old doc kept putting off. It's not a complicated procedure and it will greatly increase my quality of life for decades. My mother-in-law decided she's due for a visit and wants to explore our new town and she'd come to help around the house while OP recovers. I'm going to be out of surgery and in pain and I really don't want to put up with her energy. However, we agreed, with my husband saying this isn't a sightseeing visit, she's here to help out, cook, clean, laundry, etc., so I can rest and recover. She can come for a proper visit later in the year. My husband dropped me off at the hospital on Wednesday. It was meant to be surgery, then one night overnight at the hospital for observations. On Thursday, the doctor told me my labs were not where he'd like them to be and I should stay another night for observation and new lab work in the morning. I called my husband and told him that I'd hopefully be home the next day over the phone early afternoon. He did not visit on Thursday at all. On Friday I was discharged and called my husband to tell him that I'd be ready in about an hour. It went straight to voicemail and I figured he's probably in a meeting and I'll try again in a little bit. After calling a few times over the course of over an hour, I called my sister, who was lucky enough to be excused from work for the afternoon, many thanks to her understanding boss. She drove 90 minutes to get me and took me home and the house was in shambles. Laundry baskets on the dining room table, the litter box not cleaned since Wednesday morning, days of dirty plates in the sink, etc. I just broke down crying. She packed me a bag and took me to her apartment to recover for 2 weeks. On Friday night my husband called me asking me where I am and that the hospital said I was already discharged. He had been on a hike with his mother and there was no cell phone service so he missed my calls, which also meant he took PTO for his mom's visit again. Obviously, I can't ban him from taking PTO, but wouldn't you rather spend that freed up time with your wife at the hospital instead of on a date with your mom? I told him that I no longer feel comfortable recovering in our house and I won't be returning until it's thoroughly cleaned and his mother is gone. He's calling me the because his mother just wanted to get to know our new area and I wasn't able to leave the hospital anyway, and that I was making a big deal out of this. I yelled that he essentially abandoned me at the hospital and entertained someone whose being here was to help make recovery easier, not more stressful, and that she was here for support, not on a vacation. Maybe it's just the pain and pain meds, but am I in the wrong here? Is this a stupid hill to die on? There's a part of me telling me to see a divorce lawyer just to see what my options are because I'm not sure this will ever change. I know this is going to sound incredibly selfish, but I want kids but I now don't see myself having any with my husband in the foreseeable future. And if this isn't going to work out, I don't want to spend the next 5 years of wasting time and money on therapy and missing a chance to find someone I actually can start a family with, someone who can be a committed father and husband before he's a son. Many thanks to anyone who's read all of this. Edit, thank you, everyone. I stepped away for a while and came back to a lot of support. I think it's time to put my big girl pants on, unfortunately. Stories number 48. Aita for blowing up at my sister for naming her daughter after a fungal infection. So my, 20M, sister, 27F, and her husband had been struggling a lot with baby names. She was determined to find the single perfect name even by the time of her baby shower, nearly 5 weeks before the due date. She didn't seem any closer to picking something out than she was at the start of her pregnancy. Anyway, I knew she was struggling, so in addition to the $900 wooden crib on her list that I got for her, I gave her a list of, obviously, joke baby names. We have a really close relationship, and it was in line with both our senses of humor. She's a nurse, and I'm a biology student, so all the names were medications, infections, unpleasant animals, etc., that all sound like lovely girls' names out of context. Some of them were a little bit obscure, sure, but I included some obvious ones like Viagra and hernia for good measure. 2 weeks later, she told me she and her husband had finally settled on a name, Malassezia. The baby's name is Malassezia. One of the names on my joke list. Outside of the immediate issues, nearly impossible to pronounce on the first try, the ass smack dab at the middle of it, the first syllable being mal dash, literally meaning bad or evil, it's also the name of a very common fungal infection. One that my sister and I are both genetically predisposed to. One that we've both had multiple times throughout our lives. Her daughter will almost certainly catch it at some time. I pointed it out to her, and she said that yes, she knew what it meant, and she knew my list was intended to be a joke, but she just really liked the way it sounded. I don't think the husband knows what it means, I think he'd reject it if he did. She says that it's so obscure that no one will ever think twice about it. Except, you know, when little baby Malassezia turns 14, finds a weird spot on her neck, and goes on her phone to Google what it is. I told her that the name was completely unacceptable, and I was shocked that she chose it. I even suggested some similar names, like Mallory, Azalea, or Anastasia, that would be more acceptable, but she wouldn't hear it. She said that since I'm not one of the parents, I have no business telling her what she can and cannot name her child, and that I'm stepping way out of line. I think it's pregnancy hormones, and she'll regret the decision very soon after her daughter is born. Stories number 49. Am I overreacting for being angry that my husband ignored my warnings about getting pregnant and now expects me to terminate? My husband and I have a 19-month-old. Financially, we'd be okay if we weren't paying such crazy nursery fees, but right now, it's a big chunk of our expenses. I've been very vocal for a while about wanting a second child. I even told my husband that once our toddler turns 2, I'd like to start trying again. 2 days before ovulation, we had sex. Then again on ovulation day, we were both working from home. Before and during both times, I repeatedly said, "This is not a safe time, if you finish inside me, we could get pregnant." I'm not on birth control because I had a terrible reaction to it and had it removed. I told him again afterward, "If you're sure you don't want a baby right now, please go get me the morning after pill." I said it 3 times. He laughed it off. So I assumed he was okay if it happened. Well, now it's 2 weeks later and I've found out I'm pregnant. He's now saying I have to get an abortion. I feel completely betrayed. He knew how I felt. I even gave him an out, the morning after pill, and he ignored it. His reasoning? We can't afford 2 nursery fees, and it'll be tight until our first gets free school at 4. I suggested putting other things, like saving for a mortgage, on pause to get through the next 3 years. But he's adamant. He won't budge. I'm the one expected to go through the physical and emotional trauma of terminating a pregnancy I actually wanted, all because he didn't act when he had the chance. I feel played, hurt, and honestly, furious. Am I wrong for feeling this way? Stories number 50. Aita 4, taking my daughter away after her mom wanted her to change clothes. I, 32M, have a daughter, 12 but 13 next month. Yesterday when she was with her mom, and her side of the family, for Mother's Day, my daughter texted me asking if I could come pick her up. I asked what happened and she called me crying saying that her mom wanted her to change her shorts because there was male company around, and then screamed at her when she didn't want to. I heard her mom yelling in the background and asked my daughter to put her on the phone. Once she was on the phone she told me I can come get my daughter if I want to cause she can't deal with this right now, and that my daughter doesn't need to have her legs on display. I said I was on my way and she said good luck with her tantrum and hung up. I went and got my daughter and we spent the rest of the day with my side of the family. This morning I got a long text from her mom mad at me for interfering by taking my daughter away from her and spoiling her. I told her that she herself told me I could come get her, but she told me that I'm letting her manipulate the both of us. I left it at that. Aita Reddit to those asking if the shorts had her ass hanging out. No, they didn't, or I definitely would have had her change. They were normal length shorts. Stories number 50. I've worn a fake engagement ring for 5 years to keep men away and never took it off. This has been on my mind lately, and I figured this might be the place I can truly say it out loud. About 5 years ago, I went through a breakup that really messed me up. It was my second serious relationship, and honestly, it left me feeling drained. The first one had already chipped away at me with emotional manipulation, and the second, well, that one ended in betrayal I didn't see coming. At the time, I was working full-time as an accountant, climbing my way up in a pretty male-heavy environment. I noticed how often friendly conversations from male coworkers or clients would veer into uncomfortable territory. I was constantly navigating the minefield of being polite but firm, friendly but not too friendly, and I always walking that tightrope. Then one morning, while getting ready for work, I spotted an old ring. On a whim, I slipped it onto my ring finger. I didn't think much of it, until that week, I realized people's behavior changed. The glances became shorter. The comments died down. The questions about my relationship status? Gone. It was like I had cast a spell of invisibility over my personal life, and I liked it. What started as a one-time thing became a daily ritual. That ring became my shield. It wasn't about hating men or never wanting love again. It was about reclaiming a sense of control in a world where I felt constantly cornered or judged. 5 years later, I'm still wearing it. I've healed a lot since then, but the ring stayed. Not because I'm hiding, but because it reminds me of the strength I had to rebuild myself quietly and on my own terms. Maybe one day I'll take it off for someone who's genuinely worth letting in. But for now, it stays right where it is. This probably sounds strange to some, but to me, it was survival. Stories number 51. Hey, I'm rich, but can I use your goats for free? I'm doing you a favor. I have a very small ranch in California. I used to own a brush clearing business using goats. I haven't done that in years, but I do still have 2 elderly mini goats. Yesterday I got an email from a friend I've known since HS. We're both in our 60s now. She lives overseas and also has a massive house in Malibu with a lot of land. She comes from a family with a known name that was one of the wealthiest in California. She inherited millions. She has never for a minute lived without. The email let me know that she was in town to deal with her Malibu house as her land was damaged by our recent fires. She asked if I could bring my goats over to munch on the brush on her land. I haven't heard from her in over a year. No talk of pay. No explanation. The email was written as though she was doing me a friendly favor and it would be no big deal for me to haul 2 goats over to her place, spend a few days overseeing them eating, hauling them back and forth at night, as a favor, for free. I explained that my goats were old, and that I didn't do that anymore. That the work involved with doing something like this was pretty extensive. No apologies were forthcoming. Instead, she was miffed and wanted to know if I knew anyone else who would do that for her. Undoubtedly for free. I told her I did not know anyone with goats. I do, but I'll be damned if I'm going to subject them to this entitled woman. She abruptly said, thanks, and that was it. No, let's get together, I'm in town. No, it would be nice to see you. Just, let me use your goats for free, why won't you do that for me? This same woman some years ago, descended on a mutual close friend who was dying. She insisted on staying at the dying friend's house, taking up all of the woman and her family's time, energy, and resources to the point she had to be asked to leave because she was imposing so much. At that time, I had to cancel my long-planned and paid-for trip to see my very close friend before she died because this woman drained all of their energy. My best friend died without seeing me because of this woman and her entitlement. At the funeral, only my dead friend's family were supposed to speak, but the Malibu woman had written a 3-page speech that she thought she was going to give, because she considers herself family. When she got up and tried to head up to the front of the church to speak, my dead friend's brother finally had enough. He stood up, grabbed this woman by the arm and forcefully dragged her back to her seat. He was furious. I suppose it shouldn't be a surprise, but the sheer entitlement of some people who were born into money never fails to shock me. Stories number 52. Aita for refusing to dress like a background extra for a wedding I wasn't even invited to. TLDR, said yes to being a +1 for a wedding I wasn't invited to. Just found out they expect guests to follow a pastel color palette and wear coordinated outfits. I backed out because I'm not spending money to dress like a beach-themed accessory. Aita. A few weeks ago, I begrudgingly agreed to be my friend Ethan's +1 to a wedding for some guy we went to high school with, not someone I've kept in touch with or ever expected to see again. The wedding's in early June, Still about 3 weeks out, and it's happening on some island off the coast of Massachusetts. We're staying at a resort in Salem. I don't love weddings, traveling without my own transportation stresses me out, and I was already pushing it by saying yes. This week, Ethan tells me we have to go suit shopping. I'm confused, why? I already own a black suit. I'm a +1, not part of the wedding party. Turns out the couple sent out a literal color palette for guests to dress in, pale grays, taupes, and soft pastels. They encourage everyone to stick to the scheme. No warning, no heads up. Just a full-on vibe control memo like we're extras on a movie set. Ethan wanted us in matching light gray suits with pastel blue or green ties. I'm sorry, but I wear black, navy, maroon, maybe beige if I'm feeling wild. That's it. I'm not about to spend money on a pastel-tied suit for a wedding I wasn't even actually invited to. I told him to cancel my +1 because I'm not going anymore. Now he's annoyed, saying I'm bailing last minute and making him look bad because people were expecting me. He left me on read and said he would talk to me when I was willing to be reasonable. We've been friends since freshman year of high school and have talked pretty much every day since. We're 28 and 29 now, but I didn't agree to be a prop in someone else's wedding photo aesthetic. I'm a guest of a guest. The wedding is still 22 days out. Surely he can find another +1 who's down to dress like a decorative macaron. Aita Reddit to clarify a few common questions. No, Ethan and I are not dating. We're just longtime friends, nothing romantic. I mistakenly said resort. It's actually a boutique hotel in Salem, not a full resort. I'm not super keen on the details, obviously, and that's my bad. I found out about the color palette just yesterday, 3 weeks before the wedding, 4 weeks after I agreed to go. Ethan admitted he knew about it earlier but didn't bring it up because, quote, I knew you'd be difficult about it. Renting a suit isn't really an option because the color scheme is super specific, and I'm not interested in investing time or money into looking like a decorative macaron. They not only sent out exact colors to be worn, but advised on which store to get them from. Why I agreed to go in the first place, I didn't realize this would be a high school reunion vibe, and I thought Ethan might not know anyone else there. Now that I know he does, and seeing the whole vibe, I wouldn't have said yes if I'd known up front. No, I don't own a beige suit. I was just making a point that I stick to a pretty narrow range of clothing colors, black, navy, maroon, and yeah, maybe beige once in a blue moon. My current formal lineup is 2 black suits and a black tux. Appreciate the chaos and the feedback, y'all are as entertaining as you are opinionated. Stories number 53. Does my husband really need lists? Do men really think this differently? I love my husband so much, I want to be clear about this. We have a pretty non-traditional setup. I own a business and make an insane amount of money. So I suggested he could leave his job if he wanted to, and he ended up doing so. We have young children at home. And so I brought in a nanny 5 days a week. 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. I get home around 3 p.m. so he watches them solo early morning and for about 2 hours a day. He's an amazing dad. Totally crushed it. The best, but I'm fully running the business and managing the household. I cook, do almost all the cleaning, laundry, all shopping and organizing, dishes etc. I also plan all the trips, appointments, and generally keep the ship running. On top of running a business, that is constantly needing my mental energy, I'm drained. And honestly, it definitely lowers my attraction to him. He stopped feeling like my partner and feels more like someone else on my list. I rarely feel relaxed, and while I could just let the house drop or take things off my list, I still am the one who has to overhaul it all at the end of it. My big thing, he wants lists from me. But what would be helpful feels like common sense things. Floor dirty. Run the sweeper. Bed unmade. Make the bed. Dirty clothes full. Go put them in the washer. He says he needs a list. But to me that's like, okay, I'm your mom. You need me to walk around the house before I leave work and make you a list. I totally get men and women think differently, but I'm losing my mind. Should I just give in to making the lists? Only asking for men's guidance. I'm not here to shit on my husband. I am completely uninterested in throwing out the whole man, so if that's your guidance to find another post. Thanks. Stories number 54. My 30F husband, 34M, offered me instant noodles as a Mother's Day dinner and doesn't understand why I'm mad. Is it time to give up? Are y'all okay? Genuinely, what the fuck is wrong with some of y'all? LOL. I wish I was making this up, genuinely. I reminded him of Mother's Day earlier in the week, his sister did as well. He made no plans whatsoever and instead kept asking me to essentially plan the day myself. I've mentioned in the past that I hate doing that. He wants me to plan everything. Date nights, special events, holidays. If I don't plan dates, we don't go, and then he gets mad at me. Anyway, I told him 2 things I wanted for Mother's Day. 1, for him to plan it himself, and 2, for him to not ask me what to make for dinner. Context on that last point, I work doubles on the weekends so I have time for sure during the week. Every Sunday without fail he asks me what to make the kids for dinner because he's incapable of looking in the fridge and figuring it out himself. I told him I didn't want to deal with that on Mother's Day, so what does he do? He asks me what he should make for dinner. I said surprise me. He sends me a fucking picture of ramen and said, I have this if you want it. I lost my shit. I've never felt so disrespected. He says, I didn't ask what to make for dinner, I asked what you wanted for dinner so I could make it, as if it's not the same question worded differently. We've been together 6 years. He knows what I like. Anyway, I'm fed up and thinking it's time to just separate. I don't think he's ever going to get it. Do you think I'm overreacting? Update, I'm leaving him. I don't know when exactly because finances are an issue, but we're done. He pestered me to come home early from work and when I did he was just opening the fridge and asking me what we have so he can cook. He still hadn't even come up with a plan. I decided I was leaving him before I even left work but this was really the icing on the cake. Thanks for all the kind words and encouragement. Stories number 55. Aita for getting upset at my fiancé for giving away the flowers I bought to his sister for her in-laws. I, 32F, got really upset with my fiancé, 31M, and his sister, 26F, this past Mother's Day, and I'm wondering if I overreacted. To set the stage, I woke up early and picked up some decorations and flowers for our small Mother's Day lunch. I arranged the flowers into 3 bouquets, for my mom, my sister-in-law, and my future MIL. We originally planned lunch for 2 p.m., but my SIL asked to move it to 4 p.m. last minute so she could attend a church event. This kind of schedule change is common with my fiancé's family, so I've learned to just roll with it. Because we had extra time, my fiancé and I went to grab groceries. While we were getting ready to leave, I overheard my SIL on the phone with my fiancé asking about the flowers. She lives with us, along with my mom and sister, she pays rent, so it's more of a roommate situation. I told my fiancé that she couldn't take the flowers, they were already spoken for. He told her no, but then explained that she wanted flowers to give her own mother-in-law. I reiterated that if she wanted flowers, she should go buy them herself. We live in a super walkable neighborhood with grocery stores, flower shops, and vendors nearby, so it's not a big ask. At the store, she called again, and I again told my fiancé to say no. He also suggested to her that we bring her a bouquet from the grocery store we were at but I can only assume she said no and insisted in taking the ones that were at the house. Eventually my fiancé agreed and ended up telling her she could take the bouquet I had prepared for her. At the supermarket I tried to play it cool but ultimately my feelings got the best of me and I walked away and went to sit in my car while my fiancé finished paying. I told my fiancé it was disrespectful, especially since we hadn't even gathered as a family yet. If I had already given them to her, and she chose to re-gift them, fine. But she never gave me the chance. I told him I wasn't in the right headspace to spend the rest of the day with his family, and I went out with my mom instead. I also asked him to have his sister reimburse me for the $40 I spent on the flowers, and I gave the remaining bouquets to my mom. I'm still fuming, not just over the flowers, but the ongoing dynamic. My SIL often leans on my fiancé to solve her problems, and it constantly ends up affecting me. I've been trying to let this one go because it is her first Mother's Day, but I honestly feel disrespected and tired of the pattern. So, AITA for reacting the way I did. Stories number 56. AITA for not sharing the good tea with a friend. My friend was over visiting, I offered tea. She said yes. She's not much of a tea drinker, she normally drinks cheap herbal teas, which are not actually tea anyway, and isn't picky. I, on the other hand, have a cabinet full of teas of various types, imported from around the world. I offered her a decent selection, a nice oolong, a nice white tea, a high-quality herbal, a good flavored black. She pointed at something else in the cabinet and went, "What about that one?" I hesitated, then said it's pretty expensive pu'er I had imported, and she probably wouldn't like it anyway. She said I'm being stingy and could let her taste for herself. But pu'er is a polarizing tea anyway, and this stuff is not cheap at all, and it would be difficult for me to get more of this brand. I know I can make multiple cups from it, but I hadn't been planning on doing a pu'er week right now, and really didn't want to waste it on someone who probably wouldn't like it anyway. She doesn't even like strong black tea. For those not in the know, my family has compared the smell of pu'er to fish and dirty socks. I like it a lot, but I understand it's not everybody's thing. Now she's being passive-aggressive at me. Update Aita for not sharing the good tea with a friend. So I was judged NTA on the post, but there was definitely a lot of very lively discussion about tea snobs, and inappropriate nosing in cabinets. I very much appreciated all the comments. As it happened, about a week after the post, our friend group WhatsApp started talking about, you guessed it, tea. Specifically, somebody went, what do you mean, different types of tea, like verbena, and another friend, not even me, went off about how that's not real tea. Look, my friends and I agree on the important things in life. Also, I'm waiting for people to wonder why TF we keep on talking about tea on our WhatsApp group. It doesn't actually happen that often, I swear. Anyway, I jumped in and said, how about we have a tea party and I will let y'all try the fancy stuff. So we did. About 10 friends came, including the original friend who was cruelly denied the good pour. We tried 8 different types of tea, including some variants of the same type, so they could compare the flavors, e.g. 2 oolongs, 2 English breakfasts. The biggest hit was the chai, lol. Afterward some people asked where they could order some of the teas for themselves, and as for the friend from the first post, she tried the coveted Pu'er wand. Did not like it lol. Otto, her heart opened to the Genmaica. One of my other friends did enjoy the Pu'er, though. Everyone had a good time, and agreed that we should totally do it again. I am now sitting here and sipping my third steep of the leaves with great satisfaction. Stories number 57. Aita for refusing to give up the master bedroom to a friend's boyfriend during a group cabin trip. My friend group, me, 26M, my girlfriend, 25F, and friends J, 25M, Eva, 26F, Liam, 25M, and Frank, 26M, has a tradition of renting a cabin every summer-winter. The cabin has a master bedroom, double bed, a twin room, 2 single beds, a loft, 2 single beds, and a pull-out couch in the living room. My girlfriend and I have always paid extra to use the master exclusively. Everyone else shares the remaining beds, and Eva usually takes the couch since she snores and doesn't want to room with a guy. This year, Frank asked if his boyfriend Ed, 28M, could come with us. None of us hadn't met him, but Frank said he'd cover meals to make up for the cost. Ed seemed nice at first and paid for dinner the first night, which was cool. Problems started when we got to the cabin. Ed said he and Frank wanted to take the master bedroom. I told him, maybe a little harshly, that my girlfriend and I usually use it since we pay extra. Ed said he didn't get what the big deal was and that we could sleep in one of the single beds or the couch. These single beds are small and could not comfortably fit 2 people, plus Eva would have to share a room with one of the guys, and she didn't want to. Ed said that my GF and Eva could share the couch, and I could room with one of the other guys. I didn't want to room with a guy when my GF and I have been together a lot longer, and there's no reason for me to room with someone else in favor of a couple who's been together less than a year. Jay and Liam tried to help, like giving Ed and Frank the couch so they could sleep side by side, but Ed said he didn't feel comfortable in open spaces and insisted on the master. Ed and I argued more, and he called me homophobic, saying I didn't support his and Frank's relationship by not letting them share a room. I was about to shout when my girlfriend shut me up and told Ed we'd take the couch. We didn't see them much the rest of the trip. I mostly hung out with my GF and Eva on hikes. Ed and Frank used the master and left a few days early. My GF Jay, Liam, Eva, and I have been talking about what happened. Jay supports me, but Eva and Liam said I made a huge deal out of nothing and that letting them have the master for a week wasn't a big deal. Even my GF says I took things too far by keeping everyone up. I'm still pissed about being kicked out of the room, but I think I might be asshole because it was late and everyone wanted to sleep, but I kept dragging out the argument, and I didn't welcome Ed after he argued with me. Ida, TLDR, I didn't want to give up the master bedroom, that my girlfriend and I pay extra for, to a friend's boyfriend on our group cabin trip. Some friends say I overreacted and should have just let them have it to keep the peace. Stories number 58. Am I overreacting? My dad hit on my girl, what should I do? So I, 24M, have been dating my girlfriend, Jess, 23F, for about a year now. She's amazing, funny, kind, smart, and honestly way out of my league. I was planning on proposing this fall. A few weeks ago, I brought her home to meet my family for the first time. My parents had us over for dinner. My mom was lovely and welcoming, but my dad, 46M, was weird. Like, overly charming. At first I chalked it up to him trying too hard to be cool or friendly, but it started to feel off. He kept complimenting her appearance. Wow, you're even prettier than he described, and, if I were 20 years younger. I gave him a look, and Jess just laughed it off politely. But then things escalated. After dinner, Jess went to grab something from her car. When she didn't come back right away, I went to check. She was standing by the driveway looking super uncomfortable. I asked what was up, and she hesitated. After some pushing, she admitted that my dad followed her out and said something like, "You sure you're with the right son? Bet I could show you a better time." I was livid. I confronted my dad immediately in front of everyone. He denied it and claimed Jess must have misunderstood. My mom looked shocked but said nothing. Jess begged me not to make a scene, so we left early. Since then, my dad's texted me saying I owe him an apology for embarrassing him in his own home. My mom wants me to move past it for the sake of family harmony. I'm torn. On one hand, I don't want to alienate my family. On the other hand, what kind of father does that? Jess has been quiet about the whole thing but said she'd understand if I needed space from my family for a while. Am I overreacting? What the hell do I even do here? Stories number 59. Am I the bad guy for not letting my wife quit working? My wife wants to quit her job and has no solid plan for what to sew afterward. We both make about $100K. Anything she mentions is stuff that would probably pay $30K or so. She does get stressed out from work and the doctor signed her up for 2 months of FMLA. Right now she spends most of her day laying in bed watching TV with the dogs. I don't think it's right to put all the burden on me to be the breadwinner. Like, what if I lose my job? She makes me feel guilty for always saying no. She can't just quit her job. And while $100K salary might be a lot to some people, it would probably buy Sally just cover our monthly bills, $2K mortgage, 2 new cars, pet insurance, TV, phone, internet. For reference, I'm 45 and my wife is 42. Edit. Not to try to get people on my side or anything, but part of this too is that my wife cheated on me about 15 years ago and did things that weren't appropriate other times after that. I don't feel like my marriage is super strong, and I guess she doesn't even think divorce is a thought, because what would she do if we got divorced? Edit 2. Thank you everyone for your opinions and support. Never expected so much feedback. Also, since people have asked, we have 2 boys that are 16 and 13. So not really kids who are super dependent on their mom. Edit 3. I feel like a lot of this is becoming a "should I even stay married" convo, and that's not what I was looking for. I was really just looking to see if I'm being unrealistic. The only reason I mention the marriage is it's not so strong and great that I'd never think of leaving. It's just something that pops in my mind when I think of her having no or little income. Stories number 60. My adult daughter lies about her childhood and it's breaking my soul. My youngest daughter is in her mid-20s. She is intelligent, self-sufficient, a beautiful woman. Hardworking and educated, enjoying her career. I love her with all my heart and have a lot of respect for all she has accomplished. But the girl lies. A lot. She's been this way since she was a little girl. She would write fake secret admirer notes to herself and tell everyone. She'd come home with flowers picked from the neighbor's gardens and swear her secret admirer gave them to her. He wouldn't be a secret admirer then, would he? She was 8 and 9 then. Going into her teen years, she was going online telling internet friends she was abused in our home, cutting, anorexic, etc. Eventually some reached out from concern and we found no cutting, deaf, not anorexic at all. She liked attention. That's what she told us. I have many examples of grand schemes that we knew of, and probably many we didn't. Yes, we took her to therapy only to be visited by Child Protective Services over lies told in therapy. She spent a few weeks in foster care since none of the family would take her in while we cleared this up due to not wanting the drama or possibly ending up losing their children over her lies. It was tough to deal with. We never knew what was being put out there about our family life or the damages being done. I worked in a career that I could lose entirely if this child did or said the wrong thing, all for attention. She loves being a victim but was living what she termed a boring, uneventful life. She wanted to be a writer and was desperate for some trauma to spice up her lived experiences and be a better writer. She has told us this. The lies though, it's breaking my spirit. My soul has cracks in it. Our good memories of childhood and family times, our holidays and vacations, all are tainted with her telling people extravagant lies and changing everything. The 2 months in Europe. She was suicidal, attempted with OD, found in the streets of Spain by gypsies who kept her and such. Said family and police found her and had her committed while we went on to enjoy our vacation without her. Never happened, and we have videos and pics and social media showing this. But she tells strangers, colleagues, people we'll likely never meet. But last year she told everyone in her life, after she moved cross-country, that she was going no contact with her parents due to heavy childhood trauma, abuse, and it going on into adulthood. She had said it was the reason she had to make a desperate cross-country escape, full of great fear and terror that we'd somehow find her and kill her. We drove her there, to her new job, rented her condo and got utilities started. Filled her cupboards with food, did a few tourist fun things. The minute we were gone the stories started, and of course we heard them. It broke me, tbh. Almost 15 years of this endless barrage of destructive lies is killing my soul. I don't understand why she does this or why she doesn't understand how hurtful this is, right to the center of my heart. I never thought in my life I'd think that I might need to be the one to go no contact. I simply can't imagine it. Not long ago someone directed me to the R raised by narcissist sub and reading the posts and comments just shredded me. Those sounded just like things my daughter would say, except in her case none of it ever happened. None of it. No, her dad was not a raging violent alcoholic who was in and out of jail. He rarely has a beer and I've never seen him intoxicated. He's had one traffic ticket, that's his entire experience with police. No, I'm not a pill addict with gambling issues that bankrupted the family, cheated on my husband, and such. No, her older sister did not sell her virginity to an old man, video it and put it on Pornhub when she was 14 years old. It goes on and on and on. She had created a completely fake family history full of massive trauma. Because we're boring, but I can't deal with this anymore. People we meet with her, her friends, look at us side-eyed and we know she's made up another fake trauma story. Go meet her for lunch at work and colleagues are coming to peek and whisper. You have no idea how this feels. I can't do it anymore. By the way, she isn't no contact. She just tells them this. She was here for Christmas. I got Mother's Day flowers, we FaceTime often. And still the stories keep coming. Stories number 61. Coworker took my cell phone home. I just started a new job a few weeks ago. I was brought in as a co-leader to a department because the current lead is struggling. She's clearly feeling threatened and is actively making my integration difficult by withholding key information, leaving me out of Teams messages, and just generally being resistant to collaborative dialogue. She's in way over her head and rather than accepting me as the life raft she's been offered, she's doubled down on desperately trying to cover up her lack of knowledge. I'm trying to be patient with her but she's not making it easy. She did disclose to me that she had a traumatic brain injury about 6 years ago and that it often makes her feel overwhelmed and she'll forget things or mix up numbers. In our field this is extremely dangerous and can lead to physical harm or death. So while I want to support her and accommodate her, I also want to be realistic about her limitations. Anyway, Friday afternoon when we were both leaving I noticed I didn't have my personal cell phone and I mentioned it to her. She then hurriedly left the building while I went back to my desk to get it. It wasn't there. I called it several times. I then called her phone several times without answer, she sent it to voicemail the second time. 30 minutes later I had a higher-level administrator text her and she then brought the phone back. She claimed it was an accident and I want to believe it was and that it could have been because of her TBI. But the phones are different sizes, my phone was on my own desk, and she had her phone as well so it's not like she grabbed the wrong one and left hers. What are the odds this was an innocent mistake and not a passive-aggressive power play? If it was intentional, what was her end game? I can obviously track the phone. All it did was cause us both to get home later and it makes her look bad. I can't figure it out.